Three, two, one. We are live. Hey guys, how you doing? What's going on? Hey Jade, what's going on?
It's been quite a week. How about you, Rich?
Yeah, it's been quite a week for everybody, I think. A lot of crap happened this week, didn't it? With the debate and all that.
You know, I couldn't even bring myself to watch it.
Yeah, a lot of people told me that. I had a friend that said my gut hurts. Texted me, my gut hurts from all the lies.
Oh yeah, I mean, what I did see of it,
her lies.
What I did see of it, it was like she's lying just to keep in practice.
Oh man, I'm telling you, I mean, my God. Now, I was talking to my brother earlier. He's here now, not Jimmy from Philly. Everybody. I was talking to him earlier about there is a guy that came out and posted on X. And he's got like 700,000 people, which means, you know, he's legit. And for the most part, anyway. And he said that someone is a whistleblower from ABC who came out and said that has proof that ABC gave Kamala a list of sample questions. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. That's what they told. Oh, we gave her some sample questions that said that she could practice. But they were actually the real questions. Okay. And she knew that. They thought were stupid. And then also that her people also got notice that Trump was going to be fact-checked, but she wouldn't. So now the guy hasn't come out. He said, once the whistleblower comes out, I'll have all the info. But from what I understand, the whistleblower had signed an NDA and is now talking with lawyers to try to get out of that. Because you sign an NDA and if the subject or the object of your NDA is fraud, I don't think you could be held to the NDA. I think that's the way it goes. If it's fraud, you can't. I mean, I don't know if that's a crime because I don't think there's any laws to cheating, helping a candidate. Otherwise, Donna Brazile would be in jail. Well, she gave them to Hillary in 2016.
I can't help you with that one because I'm not a lawyer. Because I have ethics and morals, so I can't help you with that.
But it's a Bones McCoy. I'm not a lawyer, Rich. I'm a doctor.
Yeah. Yeah. There's another one. That's another one that was an old series that was very cheesy and everybody loved it.
Yeah. I know.
It's the original. So what do you got for us today, Rich?
Let's see. Let me. We got a lot of stuff to go over. Let me pull it up here. All right. This one I wrote. Let me read it. Share this tab instead. Cities moving to the right. A new political shift in urban America. From liberal bastions to conservative powerhouses, the urban transformation. This is something nobody thought would happen, but it's happening. Ready?
Wasn't that your video today?
Yeah, and I'm going to read, actually, I created my script from this, but a lot of people may not have watched it. But thank you for bringing that up. And I would play the video, but you're a real dork if you play your own video, so I'm not going to do that. So, hey, maybe you could play my... Now, for a long time, cities have been seen as strongholds of left-wing politics, not just in the U.S., but around the world. However, things are starting to change. Cities are becoming more conservative, shaking up the usual political landscape and making people wonder what this means for the future. Urban areas in America, once celebrated for their progressive attitudes, are now facing big social and cultural challenges. Places like Portland, San Francisco, and parts of Chicago are often labeled as hotbeds of crime, both violent and property crimes, drug problems, failing public schools, and homelessness. In other words, everywhere Democrats rule. Violent crime rates have shot up, and many people are leaving these cities in droves. Why wouldn't you? Baltimore, for example, was once one of the top 10 most populated cities, so was Detroit, in the U.S., but it's seen its population drop dramatically by over 300% since 1980. So what's behind this urban decline? Many point fingers at left-wing policies. I do. For over 60 years, some 100 years, most major cities have been run by Democrats. But now this dominance is being questioned as more and more cities start leaning toward the right. Signs of the shift. There's evidence showing that cities, both in the U.S. and around the globe, are becoming more conservative. A great example is Brooklyn, New York. AOC, watch out. Back in, or is she the Bronx? I think she's the Bronx. Back in 2012, Barack Obama won Brooklyn with a whopping 82% of the vote. But by 2020, Joe Biden's margin had shrunk to 10 points, had shrunk by 10 points to 72. In 2022, Republicans made big strides, winning 3 out of 4 state legislative seats in South Brooklyn. That's pretty good for New York. The same trend can be seen across other parts of New York City, including Queens and Staten Island. Not Manhattan, though. That's where the money is. One of the most surprising shifts happened in Miami, Florida. Everybody goes, oh, well, Florida's just a red state. Yeah, but Miami was always solid blue because of the Hispanic vote, which shocked the living hell out of me because Cubans come here and they usually vote Republican because they know what it's like to live under communism, right? And that's why the Clinton administration and the Obama administration just ignored them. So in 2022, Miami-Dade County, which has historically been a Democratic stronghold, turned red. It did. I remember that. This shift reflects the growing influence of Republicans in other cities, too, like Dallas, where Mayor Eric Johnson switched parties. He just did that, making Dallas the biggest red city in the country. God bless him. Why are cities leaning right? One of the main reasons for this political shift is the growing defection of Latino voters. Do you see it? I didn't say Latino. I hate when people go, when they did the growing defection of Latino voters. You ever hear when people do that, Jade?
Yeah,
I just
Latinx.
Latinx. Latino. Yeah, they go Latinx. No, yeah, Latinx. No, it's Latinx.
Latinx, you bigot.
I know. I would be like so insulted. But you know what? Democrats don't give a shit.
Well, they Latinos, don't. And anybody that I know hates that.
I know. Do you know what I heard? Like, I've had so many black people that I know that said, I hate the term African American. They want to be called black.
Yeah.
They don't like to be like, I'm not called Irish, right? I'm white, right? They want to be called black. They're black Americans.
Let me tell you, let me tell you a tangent here. I've known 5 or 6 African Americans. They've all been white from South Africa.
Yeah.
They're African Americans. I
richest man in the world is an African American.
You know what I would prefer? I call them. You know what I call them? I call them Americans. How about Americans?
Yeah, I know. Isn't that something?
How about Americans? Anybody that I know, I call them Americans, and they go, "Yep. You love America? God bless America."
So it's like black Americans want to be called black Americans, and everybody should understand they did not have the same experiences white people had. Okay. And they live, a lot of them live a different type of lifestyle than we have, but it's no less legitimate an American experience. A lot of people don't get that. A lot of people lose that when they think about it. You know, it's very American, very pro-American, but it's a little bit different.
If you have to describe them, you know, sure. Okay. They're black, but African American, they've got no tighter a connection to Africa than I do. And I've been there one more time than they have. So.
well, the thing is, the only time they like it being used is in a political sense. Like if there's an article or a news guy saying, well, African Americans are now a predominant group in this city, you know, that's the only time they like to hear that. But when you speak about them, don't call them African American. Now, what the hell do I know? You know, my black friend said, I don't like that. Well, I like to be called black.
Let me throw the other thing in. When they say the black community or the Hispanic community or whatever, that offends me because.
Do you remember when Biden last year, I think it was, when he said, unlike the black community, the Latin community, the Hispanic community has a lot of diverse thoughts, and I was like, oh no, he actually said it. So in other words, in other words, he thinks they're all monolithic, like they all think the same thing.
Yeah, and he went on and to say that they how did he put it? Unlike the black community, the Hispanic community will vote in different ways. I forget how he put it.
It was unbelievable,
but it was completely, and he got away with it. You know, so it really offends me because when you use that, you're saying, okay, every black in America is the same.
Right, and I'm taking you for granted.
They're all going to think the same way. They're all going to, you know, the guy from, and it just gets worse because you've got somebody who just came here from Nigeria,
Right.
they're the same as somebody who's been here for 400 years.
Right. And you know what's really funny? They did a study, and they had to stop talking about it, but they did a study in the mid 90s, and the study was, out of all black people in America, what particular type, okay, does the best in life? Okay, starts a business, gets a high-paying job, stuff like that. And it was not black Americans. It was, but they were black Americans who came from the West Indies, and they tried to find out why. And the reason, what the reason why? It's going to sound a little, judgmental here, but I'm saying this is what the study said. It said that when they came, this group, it was a large group that came over, whatever years, and they all did well. And it was because they grew up not hearing about racism in America, and that if you're black, you'll never be able to become anything. So they came here and they said, hey, look at that. They have a way to create a job for yourself. You can start a business. Yeah, there's barriers, but let's get around them. And they created their own city banks, like not an actual bank, but you go down to the town hall in your neighborhood and you donate part of your paycheck from your shitty job because you're a new immigrant, right, coming in, and then your lottery ticket comes up, right, and then they give you a loan, usually with the shaking of a hand. They'll give you a loan for your business and you pay it back. This is what all different groups do, but West Indies black people, they do really well in the United States because and think about this. You don't hear you hear about the Haitians now eating animals and all that crap, right? Which, by the way, there's more and more. I'm going to get into one of those stories. There's more and more evidence of that coming out. But what's called they you don't hear, oh well, these people from the West Indies, they put on balaclavas and went down the street beating the shit out of people. You don't hear that. You don't hear that they cause trouble at all. At least I haven't, on the news. But anyway, let me get back to this. One of the main reasons for this political shift is the growing defection of Latino voters from the Democratic Party. Latinos, who often have more traditional, religious, and pro-life values, are increasingly drawn to conservative politics. See, Ronald Reagan said something about black people. He could have added Latino people, but he was talking about black people. And he said, look, black Americans are actually conservatives. They just don't know it yet. And that's what you have here. Most Latinos, like it says, they're traditional, they're religious, and they're pro-life. Okay, so this trend is particularly clear in Miami, where Cuban and Venezuelan voters feel that the Democratic Party is starting to resemble the progressive socialism they fled from in their home countries. Similarly, in Texas, cities like Houston and San Antonio, support for Democrats among Latino voters has dropped by nearly 20 points since 2016, which is good because that Jacoin or whatever the hell his name, was it Becerra? I forget his last name, but his brother he's a state guy and his brother's in the feds. He was always bragging, by the year whatever, Latinos are going to take over because white people are going to be a minority. It's not going to happen for another 100 years, guys. Sorry. Another reason for this shift is the rise of class-based politics over identity politics. This is good. This is good to hear. Okay. When they say class, we're not class-based politics. I'm not talking about class warfare, right? That's what identity politics is. That's class warfare. So as the Republican Party rebrands itself as the party of the working class, more black and Latino voters are moving to the right. And I got to be honest with you guys, it was Donald Trump that did it. What do you think, Jade? I think it was Trump that brought them over.
Well, I've always wondered why people in the Deep South would ever vote Democrat. Right. I've always wondered that. And we know they were set up by, I don't know, JFK, but certainly Johnson. And he was from Texas, of course. So he thought he understood the whole thing. And maybe he did, because his legacy is still around.
Yeah, he was a despicable man, but go ahead.
Yeah. Some people think he had responsibility for JFK. Anyway, let's not go there.
Yeah, that's not good.
But I've always wondered, because typically, and I really hate painting with a wide brush, but typically blacks in the Deep South are very
I'm listening.
very, well, they are conservative. They're higher rates of regular church going.
Yep.
Higher rates of religiosity and regular church going, and very conservative with pro-life, like you said. And I don't know if Trump pointed it out to them, but a lot of people seem to be seeing what the Democrats are doing now, and I think some of that has to do with immigration, because I've seen numerous man on the street interviews with guys going, I can't believe it. People are around here are losing their jobs, and the illegal immigrants are taking them. And what are we supposed to do?
On that point, I also saw that they weren't only talking about the jobs. They were saying, look, the people, the citizens of this community who have lived here for decades, we've paid the taxes, the local taxes, to get the resources from the city. We're not getting them anymore because they're going to the illegals.
Yeah.
It was
the jobs, the resources, and my kid's school just got closed because we have to house 1,000 immigrants.
Yep. Well,
you think they like that?
I think the dumbest thing the Democrats ever did was allowed the illegals to go to blue cities. And it really wasn't the Democrats that did it, if you think about it. That was Greg Abbott, God bless him, the governor of Texas. And it was the governor, the old governor of Arizona that did that. And also, we also had Ron DeSantis in Florida. He did a few. Remember the Martha's Vineyard thing, right? And I think, like, what I'm going to get into next is fragmentation. But I think that the contrast between the Trump years, 2016 up to 2020, is so different from the next 4 years that people like those alliances, those instinctual, I'm a Democrat because I'm not a racist, right? That instinctual shit threw out the window. It's the economy, stupid, was the most brilliant thing James Carville ever said. So let me get into that. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Plus you also have a number of high-profile people coming in and, shaking hands with Trump and saying, I was much better off, and he's got better ideas. So I'm now over in this camp.
You're right. Hey, Lou.
So, but you can thank John Roberts for all of the illegal immigrants going into the blue cities. Why? Because they got to count them in the census. California lost, was it 1 or 2 seats? I can't remember.
It was 1 seat, but it's actually 2, because you lose a congressional seat, which means you also lose an elector.
Yeah. So they lost. Yeah, they lost 1 seat, and they're trying to replace it. So
right. Think about you're right. It was Roberts who said that you could, and the argument was so childish and ridiculous. They said, well, it doesn't say that you have to be in the Constitution. You have to be citizens to be counted. Yeah, like any idiot would say, like the founders were idiots, right? They wrote this beautiful document that has lasted all these years. Even at the thirsty quest of destruction by our progressive a-hole friends, all right, it still stands tall, right? So they would have been so stupid, to build a nation and to say, well, you got to do a census, because the government needs to know who's out there and all that. We'll just let illegals also. You don't have to be a citizen. Bullshit. So he allowed that to happen. And you're right. They wanted to bring them in. So here's what the trick was. The idea was Biden was going to bring them in, right? And he was going to bring all the illegals in, 18 to 20 million now. And then the states, the blue states, like California, was going to say things, I don't know, like, hey, we're going to give you free health care. Yeah, that's what we're going to do if you're an illegal. And all the illegals near California go flood into California. Now, why would he do that? Because he doesn't want them in red states. We don't want them in red states. He wants them in his state so that he can build the numbers up. Here's the problem. Ethnic fragmentation. And that's what I'm going to read now. The impact of religious and ethnic fragmentation. Another major factor driving the rightward shift is what's called religious and ethnic fragmentation. cities are increasingly divided along racial and religious lines. And it's not bad racial lines, right? In the old days, we had Germantown in Philadelphia. Why? Because a bunch of Germans lived there, because the Germans came over and they were living there. We didn't have Italian town. No, we called that South Philadelphia, right? There were areas where people lived and everything was fine, right? And then the do-gooders, the goody two-shoe liberals came in and said, no, we have to mix it up. And that's where all cities went to shit. So from Orthodox Jewish neighborhoods to Chinatowns and even Muslim-dominated city councils, many traditional communities are rejecting the left's progressive ideologies in favor of more conservative values. Let me say this, Jade. The Marxist model is the same ever since Marx, okay? And it fails. It's destined to fail, okay? And they're just not smart enough to figure out why. So what am I talking about? There's not enough liberals to create a movement like from any different group, right? There's not enough, let's see, there's not enough gay, there's not enough African-American political, remember? There's not enough, I don't know, people who love ferns, Muslims, Jews. There's not enough, feminists, all that shit. So what they had to do is they had to band them together. Now, how did they band them together? Because they said, look, you're feminists and you're Muslims and you guys are gay and you're trans. None of you have political power. None of you. We band together, our voice is louder, we have political power. So what did we see 2 years ago, Jade? They got their political power, right? And then what started happening? Do you remember Muslims in schools? Muslims started going to school meetings, the school board meetings, and they were shouting out, no, not in my child's school. You ain't doing this shit. So they started arguing with the liberals in there. No, you're not teaching mommy or Tommy has two mommies. You're not teaching this bullshit. You're not doing the transgender stuff. No. And everybody went, whoa, wait a minute. You're part of the coalition. No, you know why? Because Marxism fails every time. Because once the Muslim Americans realized we have power now, we're here. We can get on to city councils. We can get elected mayors. We can take over London. That used to be the white people factory, right? We can do all that. Well, if they have power now, what the hell do they need to be with the gay guys, and the fern lovers and the feminist people that they don't get along with because it's against their religious values and it's against their conservative values, if you will. So it always fails in the end. This is what's happening, Jade. I'm telling you right now what's going to happen. They're getting all these illegals coming in. The people that are going to be living around them, the Hispanic Americans, right? They're going to tell them, hey, asshole, don't vote for the Democrats. Don't do it because you're voting for the downgrade. Yeah, they're going to offer you money. We'll offer you a job. I think that's going to happen. So let me get into this. Cities are increasingly divided along racial and religious lines, from Orthodox Jewish neighborhoods to Chinatowns and Muslim-dominated city councils. Many traditional communities are rejecting the left's progressive ideologies in favor of more conservative values. For instance, New York's Asian neighborhoods have moved 23 points to the right since 2018. That's a big move. Religious and ethnic enclaves like Orthodox Jewish and Muslim communities are finding that woke ideology clashes with their traditional beliefs. You think? As a result, they're increasingly supporting conservative candidates who better align with their values. Now, I'm not saying Republican candidates. I'm saying conservative candidates. The future of urban conservatism, this growing conservative trend in urban areas could lead to long-lasting changes in the political scene. Communities with more traditionalist values tend to have higher birth rates than their secular liberal counterparts. It's true, which means conservative ideologies could become even more influential over time. In Brooklyn, for example, more than half of the 600,000 Jews are now Orthodox. That's crazy. And the number of students enrolled in Orthodox schools has shot up by 42% over the past 20 years. If this pattern continues, the cities that were once bastions of liberalism may soon become some of the country's strongest conservative strongholds. Can you imagine places in New York, the strongest conservative strongholds. The rise of conservative politics in urban areas is a huge shift in the political landscape and brings up important questions about where cities and the country are headed next. Bam! Oh, what happened? You left and...
Yeah, well, I abandoned you, you know. I'm like that.
You know, I can't see. I didn't see. I apologize. I didn't see it because I was reading on another page and I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I got to get another screen.
Yeah, I signed back in, and here I am. But, you know, I was going to say, what was I going to say? I was going to say a lot of this can also be attributed to the internet.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Back in the day, not all that long ago.
Before you start, Anglo-Saxon, hi, good to see you. Welcome. I hope you have a good time. You will. Linda,
you will.
here. How are you?
Hello, Linda. Hello, Linda. So back in the day, not all that long ago, all politicians could do this, and many did, but they could go to one group in one city and say one thing.
Right.
And then they went to the next group in the next city and said something completely different. Kind of like, I don't know, somebody would put on some sort of weird, supposed to be, you know, black accent when they're talking to people.
Yeah, I know. Kamala did it.
Yeah.
She did it 2 hours after she spoke white.
Right. But the thing is, now you get two screens and people run one and the other and they make fun of her. That would never have happened.
You're right. You're right. Absolutely.
Why is that happening now?
Internet.
So,
yeah, you're absolutely friggin' right. And also the fact that there are a lot of software out there that anybody, you can go to CapCut.com, free. You can create videos all you want. And it's got all the best tools that you need, right? And so anybody can come up with videos now, and as long as you get those videos from social media, then you're free to use them, unless they have something expressly written inside their description. Then they can argue with you. But especially music, do not use any music that's official, because there's a big thing with YouTube on that. We won't go into it. Just don't do it. But anything else, pretty much you can use, right? And there's the fair use policy and all that.
So just like you were saying, you can go to one group and say, yeah, we're combining everybody, and you go all around all these different groups, and then, you know, you get to gay pride movement and you say one thing, you go over to the Muslims and you say, oh, well, you know, we'll be grouped, but we're never going to do that. Well, you just told them ones that they're going to do that. Now all of a sudden, and I think it was Dearborn, wasn't that where there was that amazing city council meeting where I think it was Dearborn, and all the Muslims were there, standing up and yelling about the woke teachings, and it was like, you're not teaching my kid that. Sorry.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Hey,
I think it was Dearborn. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, it was.
It was
You're right. Let me play this. Somebody mentioned this. Let me play this. Hold on.
I don't feel no ways tired. I come too far from where I started from. Nobody told me that the road would be easy. I don't believe he brought me this far to leave me.
The guy's smiling here. He's like, yeah, she's using us as a puppet, but we're going to get money from her.
Wasn't that the most ridiculous thing?
It absolutely was. And then when she was on, I think she was on the Breakfast Club with Charlemagne that God, and she's the hot sauce in the perk. That's exactly. Bobby's got it down, man. Yeah, and Bongino said he was actually a Secret Serviceman around the Clinton family, and he said, folks, people ask me, does she really carry hot sauce? He goes, no. He goes, she does not. She's never carried hot sauce.
Of course she doesn't. It's kind of like,
because she's a friggin' liar.
It's kind of like Kamala, where in college she in college she used to, you know, smoke a little weed and listen to Tupac, and the fact that, like, she was in college and he was probably in high school and hadn't
remember
music yet, and they don't call her on that. So
yeah, they didn't call her on it. Exactly right.
Nobody calls her on it.
Look, Charlemagne didn't call getting called Biden on telling him he ain't black.
Oh, can you imagine?
Friggin' white guy thinks he's got the authority to tell black people if they're black or not, if they want to vote for Trump.
Yeah, if you don't know whether you're for me or for Trump, then you ain't black.
And he got a pass, and look what that asshole did to everybody's paycheck. And you want to know something? I hold Charlemagne responsible because he got a fucking pass from Charlemagne. And Charlemagne is the god among black people listening. Go ahead.
Do you remember the quote from Johnson?
Yeah. We can't say the word.
We can't say that word.
Yeah. We'll get kicked right off.
Yeah, we can't say the word, but it was something to the effect of give them what they want and they'll be ours forever.
And they'll be voting for us for the next 200 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what? Everybody's now trying to say, he didn't say that. Well, it was written in a book by a guy that was on the plane who heard it.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
You know,
There
so
you
the
go.
pandering just never stops, except they're being called out on it now because all of a sudden it's broadcast all over the world and all over the country.
Yep. Here you go. Here's one. ABC moderator Linsey Davis admits plan to fact check Trump during the debate. So they're starting to admit it. Tuesday night's presidential debate was a 3-on-1 ambush. It's from Outkick. Donald Trump faced not only Kamala Harris, but also ABC moderators David and Linsey Davis. The Los Angeles Times asked Davis about the debate this week, to which she admitted that there was a plan coming in to fact check Trump. Davis says the network made the decision because CNN let Trump's statements hang during the June debate. What the hell does CNN's debate have to do with ABC's debate? That's my question. Davis is wearing pink glasses while speaking to the Times over breakfast at the Ritz-Carlton in Philly. Said the decision to attempt to correct the candidates was in response to the June 27 CNN debate, which was a great debate, which Trump only took advantage of that because Dementia Joe was so dementia, right? I mean, Trump didn't have to do anything but answer questions. And I think the only real dig was the time when he said, I don't understand the thing he said, and I don't think he does either. All right. That was the only time. So what are they talking about? What they're talking about, guys, is that ABC didn't like it that Trump was able to speak and not be told he was wrong, because you know something? There are people that have fact-checked the fact-checkers when they fact-checked on ABC, and they were wrong. They were wrong on almost everything they said, right? Like, we ABC called the city manager, and he said there was no report. That doesn't mean it didn't happen. There was no official reports. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. Doesn't mean and Trump said the guy was on TV and he said it. I mean, come on, but see, what's happening too is the mainstream media, right? They're getting pissed off because they used to control all news. When you and I were growing up, Jaden, they remember that it was the 3 stations, right, that did the news. That was it. Yep. Now, holy Christ, now people they're called fake news.
Yeah,
right.
Three stations, and you had to go over to the TV and adjust your rabbit ears to get them clearly.
Just to watch them, right? And let's call it. So now you have me, little old me, the lovable little fuzzball like me, and I do videos every day where I trash liberals, and I'm loving every minute of it, right? And people can fact check the living shit out of me. And when they do, sometimes, I think there was 2 times somebody fact checked me and they were right. And I admitted it right away because I'm a conservative, right? Let me see. People were concerned that statements were allowed to just hang and not be disputed by the candidate Biden at the time or the moderators. It's not the frickin' moderator's job to dispute something that the opponent says. It's the other opponent's job. So in other words, they're admitting, ABC is admitting that Joe Biden, who they said all along was fit as a fiddle, he's the best we've ever seen him, the best version, right? All that bullshit. So now they're admitting, well, Joe was like really fucked up, and it was really sad. It was like shooting ducks in a pond, right? So now they're admitting it.
He wasn't the best Biden ever.
Yeah, he was the best Biden ever, according to Joe Scarborough, the murderer. Yeah. Fine. But what David did not explain was the decision to only fact check Trump. Exactly. The moderators fact checked Trump 5 times wrong. It was 7 regarding abortion crime and Haitian immigrants. And Davis didn't fact check Harris even once, despite her many, many lies on stage. Oh, dude, you would think the Charlottesville lie, you would think that they would fact check that one. It's been debunked even by ABC News. Further, the moderators interrupted Trump a total of 11 times. At most, they interrupted Harris once. ABC's intentions were clear. Help Kamala Harris win the debate. Exactly. So now they're admitting it. Well, fuck.
Yeah, and she's up there. I thought the best was when she says...
That was a Russism.
Tim and I are gun owners. Nobody's trying to take your guns away. So stop lying about that.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, boy.
And then, well, did you see my video that I came out? I had at least 2 videos, and there's like 15 or 20 videos of her saying it. I had 2 where she said, "Yeah, there's going to be a buyback program." They said mandatory. Oh, of course, mandatory.
Yeah, and universal registration, which is
right.
Universal.
Yeah, it's a gun registry. Yeah, it's a
gun registry.
And guess what? I got to do a video on that. I did a story that I still have on how the Weimar Republic, they did a gun registry because they convinced the people, and they were not, their politicians were just ignorant, right? They didn't have anything sinister in mind. They said, have a gun registry, because then when a crime is committed, we know who the people are with guns that live near where the crime was. We can look at them. And so they did it, right? They thought they'd be safer. Then the Nazis got elected to power, and they used that gun registry to go after everyone with a gun and said, you have to turn it in by such and such a date, but if you're a Jew, you got to turn it in immediately. And if you don't, you will be executed. That's what they did, right? So, like all fascist left-wing dictators, they disarmed everybody, and that's how they took over so quickly. And that's how they were able to, like they say, they're right-wing. No, the Nazis were left-wing socialists. It's literally in the name Nazi. The word socialist is in there, and people go, they just wanted to attract people. No, stop the nonsense. They were left-wingers. They governed like left-wingers. They shit on business like left-wingers. They were for animal rights. They were for all the bullshit that the lefties today are for. So I'm done with that. But anyway.
But yeah, you want to hear a list of the most prominent gun controllers? How about Hitler, Pol Pot from Cambodia. Right. Mao.
Oh, Mao, yeah.
Stalin.
Yep.
I'm missing a few.
Che Guevara, Fidel. Yeah, they were.
Fidel.
Yep.
I'm missing a few in there, but
they say that religion caused more deaths. Really, in the 20th century alone, what was it? Over 200 million people were murdered by the atheists.
Is it up to 200?
I think it's up to 200 million. Yeah, because they keep bringing records out. I think the atheists. Everybody goes, "What are atheists?" The communists. And you want to know something, Jay? Those numbers are their own people. That's not including wars that were started by communists. Yeah, you're right, Lou. As a matter of fact, there's an article that I refer to all the time, and it's called Nazis and the Communists and Nazis, Strange Bedfellows. And it talks about how back in the day, ever since the whole Nazi thing came out that they were left-wingers, well, then the left-wingers in America and elsewhere started rewriting history and saying, no, they were right-wingers. No, they weren't. They were left-wingers. But the thing is that you got to go back to the people who were writing and reporting in the days of Hitler and the Nazi regime, and including we had an American president, was it Harding, who wrote a book and said in his book that no matter what, communists, Nazis, no matter what you call it, it's all socialism, and it was, and the difference between the Nazis and the communists was the Nazis, they were national socialists, okay? So they wanted Germany and any states that they controlled, right? They didn't want the whole world. They didn't want to conquer the whole world. Everybody says they did. They really didn't. But the communists, they wanted to take over the whole world. Plus, you had the racial aspect with the Nazis, which was the anti-Jew thing. You had that racial aspect there. but they were all socialists. I mean, the 20th century was the year of socialist murder. And you get if you got all the communist dictators of the 20th century into a banquet room, right? And you asked any one of them, they would all tell you, socialism is socialism is socialism. It all starts with collectivism. It's all the same. Well, no, nobody really used socialism the way they wanted to. Well, yeah, they kind of did. You know, I'm just so sick of hearing these a-holes on the left say, the Nazis were right-wingers. Yeah, prove it to me. Because they were.
Well, here's the thing. You can call it socialism, communism, you can call it fascism. The only difference I see, having studied history a little bit, the only difference I see is in their allowance of private property, because if you are a communist, everything belongs to the state, and the state allows you to
collectivism.
Now, if you're a fascist, you are allowed to own the private property, but
you get controlled by the government
to the pleasure of the state.
So who was a fascist here?
It's
name two presidents recently who were fascists, and Donald Trump was not one of them.
Donald Trump is not one of them.
Obama and Biden. Obama was a pussy in that when he pushed his health care plan, Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, right? He did things like for example, the insurance companies, right? They had to come up with ways to add people in for pre-existing conditions, right? So they came out and said, okay, so here is what we came up with. And the price was really high for premiums because they would go out of business. Like if you had somebody with cancer, okay, and they didn't have insurance prior to that. Now they want to get insurance. And the insurance company says, okay, you're going to be paying me $9,000 to $12,000 a year on the premiums, and we're going to be putting out $350,000 to $1 million on you. I don't know about that. And they go, oh, well, it's a risk that you take. No, it's not a risk. Actually, they were told they have cancer, pre-existing condition, and you expected us to put all that money out? No, right? I mean, that's not how you do it. So what Obama did was when they came out and said, look, we did it, but this is what it's going to do to everybody's premiums, or else we go out of business and nobody has health insurance. Obama came out, the pussy that he was. He came out and said, well, they're just price gouging. And it was a voice in the back from Kamala saying, gauging, right? He said, well, we're doing the price gouging. That's what they're doing. And so he was a pussy. In other words, he ordered them to do things. The government ordered private sector fascism to do things, but then he took no responsibility for the things that they did upon his orders. So he never took responsibility. Yeah, well, the premiums went up. Because I remember a lot of liberals when it came out. Hey, what's up, Liquid? Hey, Leanne, roll tide, sweetie. So what they did was, I remember distinctly that they came out and these people like known liberals on Twitter and saying, holy shit, I thought Obamacare was going to be great. I supported this thing. My premiums quadrupled. What the hell? You know, and conservatives are all like, we tried to tell you, moron. You know, so, I mean, Obama was a fascist there. Now, Biden, a fascist. I mean, the very definition, if you look in the encyclopedia under fascist, should have a picture of Biden, because the government forced social media companies, including this platform, to censor things about COVID, about the vaccine, the COVID vax, about anything that the Democratic Party didn't want being said. That is fascism. When the government works in conjunction with the private sector, but then tells them what to do because private sector can do it, but the government can't, like First Amendment issues, that's fascism. And yet they say Trump is the fascist. They can't name a single goddamn thing Trump did in all 4 years that's fascist in nature. They can't.
But it's different when they do it.
I forgot about that. That's Rule 24. It's different when we do it. Yeah. Let's go down. Let's see what we got. Journalist travel. Oh, here we go. This is going to be good. This is Revolver, which I'm starting to like a lot more and more. Journalist travels to Ohio, where more residents corroborate the Haitian cat-eating story. Look at the picture. Right? The story about cat-eating Haitian migrants in Ohio has gone mega viral thanks to President Trump. This viral moment from the debate came when Trump called out the Harris Biden Haitians who are reportedly eating people's pets, along with ducks and geese from local parks. We all saw it. Of course, the regime-controlled media did what they do best, quickly jumping into action to claim the Haitian cat-eating story is one big lie. And despite all their resources and contacts, they haven't bothered to investigate or interview any locals. Can you imagine that, Jade? They fact-checked Trump, but ABC didn't send a fucking van into Springfield, Ohio.
Because that wouldn't fit the narrative.
Exactly.
It wouldn't fit the narrative. But
yeah,
the interesting thing, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's actually a police dash cam out there.
Yeah, I did see it, but they're already debunking it. They're saying you're talking about the black woman who was like staring up at the camera, and he said, "Did you eat the cat?" And she didn't say anything. Well, they're debunking it now. I think the retard over on my brother's channel, AJ, we call him the retard. No offense to anybody who has family but we call him that for a reason. And he came out and argued that they said that she was an American and had psychological problems. Well, yeah, I know a lot of Americans with psychological problems who eat a cat in the middle of a street.
Yeah, and at the end, the guy is saying, "You better call animal control to get this thing out of here." Yeah. There was a dead cat, and there was somebody in the background that was saying they saw her eating it.
Well, and they saw the cat, and they were like, "Did she eat that?" And yeah, we saw her eating it. Yeah, I saw the videos. There was more than one too. There was the first one wasn't the dash cam from the cop. The first one was those people with the phone, and they were zooming. They were again like on the side of the neighborhood. There were trees and whatnot, and so they were zooming in. They're like, "Oh my God, she's eating a cat." They're like, "Really? Yeah, she's eating a cat." And I'd be like, "Okay, how many times has this crazy woman eaten cats before?" None. They're just towing the regime line and covering for the failed progressive agenda as usual. Meanwhile, an independent investigative reporter, it's always the independents. Laura Loomer, all them. Okay, meanwhile, an independent investigative reporter actually did his job, went to Springfield, Ohio, and spoke to residents. He found even more people backing up the story. Our good friends at the Gateway Pundit, who I like a lot too, are all over this story. They covered the brave independent journalists who actually traveled to Springfield to talk to people on the street, something our worthless mainstream media should have done eons ago. From the Gateway Pundit, YouTuber Tyler Oliveira, I don't know this person. I'm going to have to check him out. Traveled to Springfield, Ohio to investigate the rumors of Haitians eating ducks, geese, and cats. Tyler, whose YouTube channel has 6.7 million subscribers, it's probably why I didn't hear from my little channel here. Subscribers spent time in Springfield speaking with locals about the Haitian community and asking them. They put so many in there, it's up to 25,000 now, that they have a community now, right? And asking them if they know of any Haitians eating dogs or cats. The answers from the citizens, we're going to play this one, from the citizens were shocking. Numerous locals accused the Haitians of eating the cats. One man said the cat lady down the street used to have 50 cats, and now she's lucky if she has 5. There we go.
Don't wave at me, you sorry Sam.
There was Haitians in a white van driving around the neighborhoods, collecting cats, skinning them, and eating them.
In my opinion, they're worthless. Bunch of worthless Sams.
They're getting thousands of dollars in government assistance, even the cash assistance cards. They're calling them the magic money cards because they never run out.
Man, they're nothing but a headache. All they're doing is raising our rent and our taxes and wrecking vehicles.
Everybody wants to make this into a race issue. It's not a race issue.
Look like
it's
drug
culture, it's accountability, and it's respect.
Since June, they took me off. I'm a vet. They took me off of the disability.
You're a veteran, and you're competing with some of the resources they're getting. And just came in here.
Yeah.
I need some solutions. I'm losing my mind.
This is Springfield, Ohio. Like it was once a small town in Ohio, home to roughly 60,000 working-class Americans, until 20,000 plus Haitian immigrants flooded into town with rumors of them eating the neighbors' cats and local geese.
What did you do? Why'd you kill the cat? Did you eat that cat?
That's her.
Did you eat it? How would you kill it?
So much to discover.
They're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
And causing car accidents left and right. and driving locals out of their homes by
Yeah, they don't
paying
know how to
above
drive.
market rental prices with welfare subsidized by the American taxpayer. Are these Haitians eating cats? How did they travel 2,000 plus miles from Haiti all the way to Ohio? And do the locals and their new Haitian neighbors get along? I pulled up to Springfield myself to see if this was real or overblown fake news.
A lot of this is alleged because I truly don't know what's going on, and neither does Twitter. Twitter is relying off of a few images and a few Reddit threads, and there are rumors that Haitians are taking neighbors' cats and eating them.
Are you from Haiti by chance? Does everyone get along here in Springfield?
Yes.
Good?
Good. Motherfuckers are worthless. Bunch of worthless sand. Yeah.
When did the Haitian neighbors come and move here?
I'm going to say probably 5 months ago.
Okay. I spoke to a few of them in French.
They're everywhere. They're up there. Don't wave at me, you sorry sand. I tell them like
You call
it is.
them sand
I don't
animal?
like them. I don't like them, and I want them to know I don't like them. Pack up and move back to Haitieville, where the fuck you're from.
Why did you come here to Springfield?
In Springfield, pour me venir travailler, me chercher la vie meilleure. Moi c'est haïtien.
Okay.
Raison ça que me Springfield.
Okay. Do you plan on living here for much longer?
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard there were rumors of Haitians eating the neighbor's cats and a Canadian goose. Is that true or completely false?
No.
Okay.
What's he going to say? Yeah, I had one last night.
Mbadi bagay men mwen ba au courant. Et tout mba kwe ça tout.
Okay.
Mba kwe ça tout. Peut-être moun ki do avoir un problème d'éducation qui fait ta fait ça mais mba kwe. C'est vraiment difficile pour ça t'arriver.
Okay.
We've lost a whole bunch of cats. There was a van pulled over that had over 100 cats in it with the Haitians. They said they was eating them.
Actually?
Yeah.
Haitians.
Not fake news.
Not fake news.
So a van was collecting cats and eating them.
I watched it happen, yeah. Watched them get pulled over with the cats and admit to the police that they was eating them.
You're not joshing with me.
No, I'm almost 50 years old, buddy.
You don't mess around.
No.
Twitter is saying the Haitians are eating cats and can't drive. Is that true? True or no?
No.
Okay.
I believe
No,
it.
not at all.
I've heard rumors about them taking the geese and killing them and eating them. So
Well, we saw pictures. Salty Cracker did a video and showed pictures of one of them walking down the street with a goose by the neck. He broke the neck. So that part was true. Yeah, I think this guy did, his story is like to make fun of people who say that they're there, but that's okay. Fix Haiti. Yeah, there you go. Fix Haiti and you don't have to come here.
Yeah, back in the day, we had a bit of a phenomenon like that. It was, I can't remember what year. I was much younger than I am now, but we had, I think it was a big hurricane hit Haiti, and Quebec stood in line to take in untold numbers of Haitians, which went mainly to the Montreal area.
Yeah.
Guess what happened to crime rates? It's a total coincidence, of course.
Oh, of course. Bigot. I'll bet it went up, bigot.
Total coincidence, though.
Let's see. What else we got? Let's see. Did we do? Oh, yeah. Here's one. Ready? Breitbart puts out. Union for postal workers will handle ballots. Endorses Kamala Harris. Nothing to see here. What are you worried about? The union representing the nation's postal workers, who will handle millions of mail-in ballots as part of the mass vote-by-mail system, endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris for president on Thursday. Of course they did. Voters are being asked to trust an election system in which a key part of the process of casting votes is controlled by an organization loyal to one candidate. In a press statement, the National Association of Letter Carriers, who my father used to belong to, announced its endorsement. The nation's 290,000 active and retired city letter carriers, represented by the National Association of Letter Carriers, NALC, are proud to announce our endorsement of Vice President Heels Up Harris and Governor Tim Walz to serve as the next president and vice president of the United States. Kiss my ass. The Pew Research Center reported in July that Republicans and Democrats continue to have vastly divergent views on vote by mail. Yeah, because the Democrats cheated in 2020. 82% of Democrats say it should be freely available without excuse. Only 37% of Republicans agree. Of course they do, because that's how they're winning. Similarly, 63% of Republicans say that making it easier to register to vote would make elections less secure, while only 20, and let's justify what they mean by that. When you have same-day registration, What in the actual F? So you have 4 years to register, right, Jade? You have 4 years to register to vote. And you go, I'm just too busy. I can't get an ID because, I'm too stupid or I don't have the means, but I'm just too busy. I can't do it. And so on the day of the election, you're going to register. What that's all about is people coming from outside jurisdictions, coming inside, using an address and registering to vote. That's what that's all about. It's cheating. That's what it is. And it's like, oh, it's not true. Yeah, when you have like 30,000 people that do it in a state, of course it is. All these gourmet ways of voting were all came up with by the Democratic Party. And if you look at every gourmet way of voting, it's rife with the ability for voter fraud. It just is. Joel Pollack, if you vote by mail, you have to give your ballot to someone whose union has endorsed one side in the election. How is this even legal at all? How this is legal at all is completely baffling. I remember I saw video. People took video inside the post office. I forget what city it was. Maybe it was Philly. And it showed there were deals that were made between Democratic operatives and the postal people. The postal guys would have a tub, and they would throw all the ballots only in there, and then they would hand them off to a Democrat. And there was a guy, I did a story about this before I started the channel. I did a story about this. There was a guy who was he was from Philly, but he was an operative that used to help them cheat. He said he got congressmen, city council, judges, all kinds of people, senators. He got them elected with the same cheating process. And the one thing that he said was, we would take a ballot. He said, we would use the steam method. You get a machine that makes steam, and you loosen the gum, sticky shit on the ballot. And if you open it up, if it's for your candidate, you just close it and seal it. If not, you have an already Xerox copy of your candidate. You pull that one out, throw it away, and put it in. He said people could do, like a team of like 5 could do like thousands of them in a night. And that's what they were doing. Like literally. And then they would take the tub back to the post office and then to the same guy. And he would go, okay, I'll process them. And he would put them in. So this guy that wrote the letter, the op-ed about it, that I did the story on, he said that the Democratic Party was paying these postal workers, was paying them to do that kind of shit. I mean, and we're supposed to trust Democrats. Some Republican governed states have tightened rules around the practice, but it remains widespread. Yeah, well, you know what? We have Mark Elias, the scumbag lawyer for stealing elections for the Democrats. He's been going around state by state suing the legislature for their election laws, and left-wing judges, I mean, holy shit, they're agreeing with them. Judges do not have the right to change election law. I'm sorry. Right? Article 1, Section 4, state legislature only. Right? But he was successful all because of liberalism. Few other democracies in the world use vote by mail. You know why? Because they're not stupid. And many democracies refuse to allow absentee voting except in limited circumstances. Yeah, so we have a long way to go.
Yeah. You know how they do it in the poorest of third world countries?
Yeah, they stamp your hand. And
you take your finger and you dip it in ink.
Yeah.
It's indelible ink.
Right.
And when you vote, they dip your finger.
Yeah, you can't vote again.
You can't vote again.
Chop his finger off.
Listen, if you're willing to chop the finger off,
you got to vote. Yeah.
I'll let them vote.
Yeah. What the hell? You went through a lot, buddy. Here's some penicillin.
Yeah, because what kind of a knife would they have used to cut the finger off,
No. Newly arrived illegal immigrants are not allowed to vote, but they do. And so do dead people. Dead people also vote for Democrats overwhelmingly. That was that one thing that I'm a Republican, and when I die, just please make sure I don't vote Democrat. Let me see. Remember that lady get arrested in Texas for selling thousands of ballots in 2020, the most secure election ever. It was the most pristine election we've ever seen. And that was a Trump guy who said, it was pristine. It was the greatest election. Yeah, okay. And they go, oh, Donald Trump's own people. Look, 75% of Donald Trump's people tried to get him thrown out. And I would say it's because he was never a politician, so he didn't really know who to hire. So he relied on his son-in-law, who also was not a politician and didn't know who to rely on. Except he was a Democrat his whole life, and the people that he brought in were like, you know, on the side, you know, they were on the side of the Democrats. Leanne, there's a link. Come on in. I'm going to read one more story for now. Jay, do me a favor. Let me know if you see her come in, and I'll come back. Please. Thank you. ABC Moderator, Cities Moot. We did all that. All right, let's play a video. We could use a video. Here's one. You ready? Let me stop this. All right. So Robert Kennedy Jr., he says 37 hours after Biden took the oath into office, he opened up a portal for the FBI, CIA, DHS to censor Americans online. That is the definition of fascism. Let's give it a watch. It's 2.5 minutes.
The oath of office. President Biden's White House opened up a portal for the FBI to begin to have access to social media posts on all the different social media sites. And the FBI then invited in the CIA, DHS, the IRS.
Can you believe this?
And CISA. CISA is this new agency that is the center of the censorship industrial complex.
Yep.
That is in charge of making sure Americans don't hear things that their government doesn't want them to hear.
Right.
And those agencies and other agencies, including the health agencies like CDC, were given access to go into the social media sites and change posts and slow walk things and shadow ban posts. That it was part of that effort. They removed my Instagram account. I had almost 1 million followers. They say it was for misinformation, but they could not point to a single post that I ever made that was factually erroneous. And they actually, Facebook pushed back the email chain. You can see Facebook pushing back at the White House and saying, wait a minute, he's not, this isn't misinformation. This is not factually erroneous. What they're saying is actually true. And they had to invent a new word, which is called malinformation, which is information that is factually true, but nevertheless inconvenient for the government. And that became disinformation, misinformation, and malinformation. That's what that is. So everybody, and
isn't that illegal? That's illegal.
Yeah, and the emails show that Facebook, the people said they were saying about the White House in their private emails with each other. These people are cynical, terrible people, and they knew what they were doing was breaking the law, but they were under tremendous pressure. I mean, Facebook has all these deals with the government, and as do all the media companies with the intelligence agencies and elsewhere.
Operation Mockingbird.
Plus, the White House was overtly telling them that they were going to, if they didn't comply, that their Section 230 immunity was in jeopardy.
Right. Can you imagine that, guys? That's just incredible to me. And today, where the hell is our press today to talk about that? What happened? I brought her in and she got. Come back in, Leanne. You got. I didn't do it. I think your phone did. Yeah, I won't. Yeah, I don't ever want to hear him sing either. But I like him, but he's still a liberal. But a liberal. Let me say it. A liberal I can get along with, because we share the same goals. We just have a different way of doing it. A leftist, that's a whole other animal, and they are animals. That's a whole other animal. You can't get along with them. Whereas liberals and conservatives want clean water and clean air. The leftists are saying, well, men should be able to put on a dress and go into a women's bathroom. What? We have nothing in common with them. Nothing.
Yeah, and I guess I draw the line at men participating in women's contact sports.
Oh yeah.
Because I don't care if you put a dress on. What do I care? You know, but and how many of these videos have we seen where, what was that volleyball incident where somebody spiked the ball and
she had brain damage.
Gave the woman a concussion?
She had Dame damage after that, yeah.
And then there was the other one more recently. I think it was boxing match. And
yeah, the woman, and she got hit the first time, and she stopped and walked over to the side.
She said, "I can't do it."
Was standing there, and she said, "That's the hardest I've ever been punched in my entire life.
Yeah,
this is not fair." And she was right. Stacey Abrams, yeah. Stacey, you know what? I'm just going to say it. I don't know why the Democrats picked her of all people. I don't know why they picked her to be like their go-to gal to talk about like voter suppression and all that. Like why Stacey Abrams? What is it about her that we got to get that face on TV?
She was president of the Earth, remember?
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, in Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Yeah.
There's an episode where she walked off a spaceship, and it was, "Oh, hello, Mrs. President." She was president of the Earth. She wishes.
Yeah, that would certainly be an upgrade from a failed candidate twice. I remember when Ted Cruz just made her look so damn foolish in that hearing where she kept saying voter suppression, voter suppression, voter suppression. And he said, Ms. Abrams, do you know what the number one group is that does registrations in Georgia? She goes, I don't know, but I'm sure you're going to tell me, like a real fucking smart ass. And he goes, oh, it's African Americans. He goes, do you know who voted more than any other group? She goes, I'm sure you're going to tell me that. And he goes, yeah, it was African Americans. He goes, so if they're the number one group in Georgia, he goes, they're a minority in Georgia. If they're the number one group in Georgia who is registering to vote and the number one group who is voting, how the hell can you keep claiming there's voter suppression? Well, you know, and he goes, no. He goes, I don't want your BS answer. He goes, you tell me, how can you say that when these facts are here? And she had no answer. So she tried to throw her bullshit stuff instead. Lying bitch lying sniper. That's funny. You're getting a little salty there, Linda. Yeah, Lou, she was the Italian girl, and she said, that's it, I'm done. And then the press tried to yell at her. Oh, what's the matter? You can't take a punch? Yeah, when you got testosterone behind that punch, yeah. She's not used to that. Yeah, facts, what's that? Exactly, man. It's unreal. Yeah, it's just unreal. But let me do another one. Oh yeah, this is great. Ready? You guys might have heard of this one, but Louder with Crowd. Everybody has it on there. But this is a video, right? Where let me get it on X. There's a video where it's the same firehouse, right? It's in Pennsylvania. It's the same firehouse that Biden and Kamala go in, and you'll see the reaction there. This is the firehouse, by the way, where Joe put the hat on. I believe it's the same firehouse, right? So then Trump comes in, and watch the difference.
It's not playing.
Oh, it's not? Oh, it is for me. Hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. I clicked share this tab instead, but it didn't go through. All right, here we go. Start over. Thank you, Jane. There's Kamala and Dementia Joe. People aren't even getting up.
And I love the one guy that the hat man called him.
Yeah. Now here's Trump. See the difference? They love him. they all want to get selfies with him.
Yeah, with Trump, it starts to look like the people in the stands, the gladiator contests.
Yeah.
And going all nuts, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But I mean, think about that. There, and you know, this is what's frightening to me, because we saw the same thing in 2020, right? You had Trump's rallies where he was filling 50,000 stadium, right? 20,000, 30,000, right? He was filling them all. Joe had rallies where there were 6 cars. You remember that? 6 cars. Then he had another one where there were like a dozen tables, but they were all like 6 feet apart from each other, and everybody's wearing masks, and that was it. That was his rally.
But they tell me that somebody, I saw this somewhere, somebody did an analysis, and if you look at some of Kamala's, it looks like they did some AI cut and paste to put more people around, because
Yeah, they did that. They used AI. Yeah,
they did a Hollywood thing where they would take and put the crowd, and they made it look like there was a lot more crowd, and he did it because everybody's there with their cell phone, you know, taking pictures, and he was looking at what was on their cell phones.
Right.
And he would see the other one over here with the same thing on the cell phone.
Right.
So he was saying,
Hillary did that.
God knows what Hillary did.
What's up, Bex? Yeah. Hillary used a green screen. She had, you know how you see Trump and he's at a rally and he's at the podium, and then behind him are people in the bleachers, and then you have people to the sides. That's the angle that you have. Well, she did the same thing, except she was using a green screen, and the only people that were real, Jade, were the people down on the floor in front of her, and they're all holding their cell phones up. And when you zoom in on the video to look at all their cell phones, what they're looking at is an empty stage that had like just boxes and stuff on it. So they had a green screen where Hillary was, and then they filmed them holding up. They figured they'd put the green in front of it afterwards, but there was nothing on. There was nothing on there. Unbelievable.
The whole thing is just over the top.
You want to get modded? Is this you, Bex? You got to come on in order to prove who you are. Hang on. Bex is an old friend. There's the link. Bex, come in. And then I'll mod you. I will.
Yeah, I don't think you've done that for me, have you?
Yeah, I think you are. Wait a minute. No?
No.
Oh, holy crap. No?
I don't think you have.
Let me see if I can do it right here. Well, I'll do it from here. Where are you? Okay.
I mean, we don't got to worry about that, but
Yeah, I thought I did, though. I really did.
I think we talked about it at one point.
Yeah, I thought I made you like a manager.
We talked about it, and then you were going to look into it, and we never got back.
Wait a minute. Bex feels a little naked. Without what? God dang it. There we go. All right. Huh. You know what I can do? Let me do this. Let me know if someone comes in, because I'm on a different page.
Okay, yeah, I'm not sure if I can actually.
Oh, that's right. You can't. That's right. I'm sorry.
I can only
You're
see
right.
me in there.
I got to get another. I got to get it. I have another. I just got to get a splitter. I have another monitor. Let's see. Hold on. Let me go into settings, and then permissions.
So what's going on? Are we talking about taking our clothes off here, Bex?
She ain't gonna.
I'm not quite sure I'm ready for that.
No, she's not going to do that. No. Hell, we couldn't get her on Jimmy's on my brother's stream last night because she said I look terrible, and then she comes on. I'm like, you do not look terrible. She's sick though. The wrench. No, yeah, she said she's very ill. Okay, yeah, she said that last night too. She didn't look ill, but okay. Who am I to judge? Let me go in again. Hang on. So moderators, standard. No, managing moderator. Let's see. What's your user ID, Jade? Just Jade _ Dylan?
Probably. That's nothing I put in, but we can look at that later, Rich.
Well, I can do it now if we're waiting for her. We got a minute.
I'm not sure coming in. She said she's very ill.
Oh, okay. All right, then I'll do it later. Let me go back to.
Why don't we have an online conversation? We can set up the studio again during the week before next week, and
we could do that. Oh, you can't come in?
Figure it all out.
Bummer. You come in Jimmy's show, but you won't come in mine. That's all right, Bex. I feel you. Don't worry about it. I hope you're feeling better.
So you got any more
You got
stories?
rid of AJ. Yeah. What's that?
Got any more stories?
Oh yeah. Hang on. Yeah, we got a few. Let's go. Jake Tapper criticizes Kamala. Press lockdown. World War III. Yeah. Oh, here's one. For my Canadian friends. We're on the precipice right now of World War III because you heard that the West, including the United States, is all gearing up to allow Ukraine to fire ballistic missiles in deep Russia. Okay,
well,
and Putin gave a warning because to the U.S. and to other Western countries because he's saying, "Wait a minute, I'd distract from the intellect." There you go. Yes, you would actually. She's a cutie pie and she never admits it. Anyway, so Putin is saying, look, Ukraine, he literally said this in a conference that he gave. And he said, Ukraine doesn't have the capability to fire these rockets. The United States is giving them that technology. So he's threatening nuclear bombs.
Yeah,
I can't disagree. I can't disagree with him, even though it's nuclear bombs.
Yeah, I just saw something that the U.S. took away the restrictions on the use of the munitions.
Yeah.
So they said, "Go for it, whatever you want to do."
Yeah, I mean, holy crap! And they say, you know how they all said, "Oh, well, our economy is going to go into a depression if Trump gets elected in 2016. It's going to get us into a nuclear war." Everything they said Trump was going to do, Biden's doing. It's just unreal. So let me play this. Justin Trudeau, he actually is he's
unequivocal
all for it.
That Ukraine must win this war against Russia.
You hear this, Sid?
And we will continue to be there to support Ukraine. And yes, Canada fully supports Ukraine using long-range weaponry to prevent and interdict Russia's continued ability to degrade Ukrainian civilian infrastructure and mostly to kill innocent civilians in their unjust war.
Unreal. Can you believe this?
Okay, let's just face this. Let's just face this. There is no way in anybody's reasonable calculations that Ukraine wins this war.
Oh, I know.
We can get the war to stop, and that's what Trump wants to do.
Right.
Ukraine is never going to win this war. It's kind of like...
What's up, Evan? Good to see you. I haven't seen you here before. Welcome.
It's kind of like a mouse running up an elephant's leg with the intentions of rape, okay? Come on.
There you go.
Give it...
It ain't going to happen.
Let's look at this
I love that.
What was that?
I love that. A mouse running up with the intention of rape.
I'm
Holy
sorry, I
mackerel.
used the R word. YouTube doesn't like the R word.
That came from you. Putin was assured no Eastern encroachment of NATO. We lied to get. Yeah, you know what's going on is I think it was like a year ago, maybe longer, but Putin made an offer to Ukraine, and he said, if you get an official document of your government and you sign it and it says that Ukraine will never join NATO, within 48 hours, I will start pulling my troops out. The war's over. Zelensky went, let's do it. And he goes and he gets the document. I've talked about this a lot, but he goes and he gets the document And he calls the press and he has the table set up and he's going to go and sign the ceremony and all that. And Antony Blinken, the hitman for Joe Biden, our Secretary of State, he calls Zelensky and says, you can't do that. He goes, you can do it, but you have to make a stipulation that Putin has to step down from power, knowing that he would never do that. So he put the poison pill in on a deal, and Zelensky's sitting there like, what the fuck, because he owes us all this money, right? See, the Democrats and the rhinos are trying to make it look like, well, if we don't send this money to Ukraine, Russia's going to take over the United States. I don't like borscht or vodka. That's what they're trying to make it seem like, and it's not the case.
Yeah, and they don't want the war to end because there's a lot of people out there making munitions, weapons, rocketry, whatever they're making to support this war, and they are in bed with all these politicians.
Yep.
And then when the money goes over there, it's kind of like when we sent the first $40 billion over there. A week later, Nancy Pelosi and her entourage in her private plane go over there. Well, you know why you needed the private jet was to, take home some of the pallets of that money that we sent over.
Here's actually how it's done. When we say we're going to send $60 billion, we don't actually send $60 billion. We don't write them a check. We give them vouchers. And those vouchers are they're equal to the money that is on the voucher. And they use the vouchers to purchase the munitions from American munitions manufacturers who all just so happen to be in the district of a Democrat that voted to give that money. So then they start seeing shit tons of money. Hey, what's up, Chill? Good to see you, man. So they start donating thousands and thousands of dollars to the Democrat. So this was the game that was played. I mean, they wouldn't have had funding for their campaigns in 2022 if it weren't for that game and for the FTX, for that scam.
Yeah, so the
Bankman-Fried
military suppliers pay off the Democrat politicians, probably some Republicans too.
Yeah.
And then they all agree that we need to spend all this money so that we can send all this weaponry. And who makes money? The politicians and the guys who run making the weapons.
Yep.
Hey, Canuck, how you doing?
Let me tell you something. Kevin McCarthy he took money from FTX. And he used that money to fund candidates in 2022 to take out Trump's America First candidates. Now, it didn't work for any of them, but he did it. And he was Speaker of the House. Can you believe that shit?
Yeah, he's a piece of work.
The rhinos still don't understand that it's Trump's party. It's America First. It's a populist nationalist party now. It's not weasel. We are no longer the Republican wing of the Democratic Party. Right?
Well, they're no longer the Republican Party. They just happen to use the name. It is a populist party, and
it is.
They're in the process of cleansing it of the uniparty, hopefully, because that's what it used to be. I mean, they all partied together.
Yeah.
That
is true.
There's Isaac Asimov. Isaac Asimov, I believe it's in the Foundation series.
Okay.
If you've read that.
I have.
The character.
All but the last one.
A character called the Mule. You remember?
Yeah, the Mule. Yeah.
And there was a guy who had predicted the future and had it all laid out and had his thoughts put into a computer. And every so often it would come up with things. And they were all precise until the Mule came around.
Right.
And then the Mule disrupted the timeline.
Yep.
Trump is the Mule.
Yeah. He's the disruptor.
Because it disrupted everything that everybody everybody was perfectly happy. This is how it was supposed to be.
Yep.
It's the uniparty. Hey, we're all getting paid. we're all lining our pockets.
Yep.
And at that point, it was the rulers against the ruled. It was, just a uniparty. As long as they can keep you under control.
Yep.
And that's what they are trying to do. Why do you think they don't care about crime? They enjoy the fact that crime is up. They want us to be
I think they
afraid, disarmed, afraid, and dependent on the government.
Yeah.
And if they could arrange it that they would own everything and give you a little bit of a handout, that's what they would like.
That's exactly what they want. And that model's not working anymore, as my ethnic fragmentation article pointed out. It's not working anymore.
Yep.
Here's the whistleblower. Ready? For the Secret Service. John Nolte, one of my favorite writers at Breitbart. I just think he's awesome. I read his book too. He makes fun of himself saying, yeah, well, I wrote a book. Nobody knows about it. Actually, it's not that bad. Whistleblower, lead Secret Service agent on day Trump was shot, was promoted after failing a key exam. Holy shit. Per Senator John, when Trump said during the debate, he goes, they don't fire anybody. Here we go. Per Senator Josh Hawley, a whistleblower claims that the lead Secret Service agent on the day that former President Donald Trump was shot in the head he was shot in the ear, bigot, had been promoted even after she failed at least one key training exam. Can you believe this shit? They put her on the actual on the Trump detail. Unfucking believable. Despite this exam failure, former and disgraced Secret Service agent Kimberly Cheadle promoted the agent. Of course she did. The whistleblower says the agent in question is from the Pittsburgh office and was the advance agent that fateful day. So they put a woman who failed a key exam in charge of the advance. The advance is where they go out and they look at everything. They copy every angle. They see where every weak spot would be. It's the beginning of the plan of how to protect their protectee. And they put someone like that in there. Unbelievable. Hawley appeared on Fox News with Jesse Water. Let's see how long it is. It's not that bad. Here we go. Let's hear this.
Jesse, what I'm learning now is that the lead advance agent that day in Pennsylvania, this is the agent that was in charge of Trump's entire trip in Pennsylvania, that this agent actually failed one or more of her training exams when she first joined the Secret Service. I mean, the pattern that is emerging here, Jesse, from whistleblowers who've come forward to me now over and over again is that the Trump rally was undermanned. It was understaffed. They did not have people who had experience on it. And now this advance agent, I'm told, may have failed one or more of her training exams and was known not to be a top quality agent. I mean, this is absurd. And the fact that the director will not level with the American people about what's going on here is just totally unacceptable and unbelievable.
Director Cheadle, we know, had a priority to make 30% of the Secret Service women. So this woman fails, maybe once, maybe twice, maybe more, and doesn't matter. Cheadle still makes her in charge of the protective site detail for Butler, knowing that there was an Iranian threat.
Yeah, see, this is what's so hard to understand is that if this individual had failed one or more of her training exams, if she was known not to be really one of the Secret Service's top agent, she's in the Pittsburgh office, why was she put in charge of the entire trip, Jesse? I mean, the whole thing. She was in charge of the whole works from the time the president landed to the time he went to Butler. It's just totally inexplicable. And Jesse, one other thing. I'm told by people who are close to and have knowledge of the Secret Service's own internal investigation that the Department of Homeland Security is leaning on the Secret Service not to comply with document requests to Congress. I mean, this is really getting to be outrageous. The American people need the truth here.
Yeah, there's a cover-up going on. Now that's definitive. And thank God for this whistleblower pipeline that your office established, Senator Josh Hawley. Thank you very much for what you can.
Yeah, I was going to say, man. It's like he gets all the whistleblowers that contact him.
Yeah, this is more and more starting to smell like JFK.
Oh, yeah. That they wanted him dead. Look, the fact that George W. Bush and the Cheney family, among many others, sold short on Trump stock the day before. Holy crap. And no one's mentioned that again. At least Obama wasn't dumb enough to fall for that. But, I mean, holy crap. How come the press doesn't even, I mean, crickets, you know, you sell short because if Trump was killed, they would have made a killing in the money.
And
because
they knew he was going to be killed.
Yeah, right, because truth.
You gotta wonder.
Yeah, exactly. Why would they do it that day, the day before the assassination attempt?
Yeah, and I don't, like I said before, I don't know that I can bring myself to believe that they set it up. But if you give somebody the, the most incompetent protection, and you short them anyway.
Yep.
And that you're basically letting it happen. You may not have made it happen, but you're letting it happen.
Yep.
And, apparently they knew something about this guy. So, maybe they didn't make it happen, but they're just like not stopping it.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's really starting to smell like 3-day-old fish.
And the press, like, think about this. The most significant event in the last, 30 years? A former president who's running for president again is shot in the head, survives, and the press, like, a week later was like, meh, let's move on. What? Are you kidding me?
Not such a big deal. Yeah.
And you notice all the Democrats came out right away. Oh, come on, this is just wrong. He's a former president. I'm like, you fucking people don't care. You're upset he didn't turn into the bullet. Yeah, I said it. What's the difference with what?
They're upset it wasn't an inch to the right. That's what.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
And what was I going to say? I was going to say something incredibly intelligent.
I'm sorry. I need your knowledge. Well, I'm going to look at.
Oh yeah, what I was going to say, and then the like 6 weeks after that happened, you know that story. 6 weeks after the shooting incident,
I think there was another one.
They found one of his close protection security people had gotten her mother and her baby backstage, basically unvetted.
Yeah.
I'm worried about the baby, of course. So she got unvetted people backstage, and she kind of abandoned her post to go breastfeed the baby.
Yeah.
And this is 6 weeks. 6 weeks after he gets shot. Okay. And
they were quick to come out. DHS was quick to come out and say, oh, well, it didn't affect the security. No, you left a vulnerable area of the security protocol completely open, but it didn't affect the. In other words, Trump wasn't shot again, so it didn't affect anything. Come on.
You'd think 6 weeks after you'd think 6 weeks after they had such a big ball up and he got shot, you'd think they'd be paying more attention.
He's 46 and soon to be 47, or 45 and soon to be 47. Yeah, that whole thing. I mean, oh my God, that should have been. If the press did their frickin' job, we would have learned sooner that DHS scrubbed Crook's family's house like a medicinal lab, took all the silverware, utensils and everything, and the trash from the house. What? Why'd they do that? We would have learned sooner that they cremated his body without telling anyone, including the family. What? You know why I think they did that? Seriously? You heard of those? You would know this better than me, being a medical doctor. There were these prescriptions that they were giving young men that in school, not anything like Ritalin or anything like that, but for anxiety, and it literally, in some people, it causes suicide and like tendencies, and then others, it makes them really aggressive. And this kid, they say, was on it, So wouldn't the FBI want to do blood work on the corpse and find out like what the kid had in his system at the time? You can't do that when you burn the body. I mean, it's just so much. Oh, yeah. Louis
They don't
says,
want to know.
press doing their job. The laughing. Yeah. Watch the crime scene the day of, cremated the body without coroner knowing, omit FBI proximity to shooter. Yeah. Show only one shooter and not other accomplices. The water. Well, they're saying that the water tower, like Bongino, the only person I trust now is Bongino, actually, and Andrew Wilkow. Bongino said no. He said the guy on the water tower was not a shooter. He said he wasn't, and the shooter, there was a second shooter, but he was shooting from this way towards, like in the direction of, not at the tower, but in the direction of it. That was a local cop who was shooting at the shooter.
Yeah,
because they. And I mean, the one thing they did do that they got right was all the bullet patterns and everything. They got them all, and they registered them, and they're analyzing it on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we know where the bullet came from, the bullets.
Yep.
And yes, you may be talking about SSRIs because
That's
people
it.
people can have odd side effects when starting an SSRI.
Yeah.
And there's actually some studies that have shown that vigorous regular exercise is almost as good as an SSRI for controlling depression and anxiety.
Yeah.
Of course, there are people who
I know niacin controls
don't
depression.
believe in in any of the SSRIs.
Right.
I don't know if I'm that far, but
Well, they're like, okay. You know who Bill Wilson is?
Who?
Bill Wilson. You ever see a bumper sticker when you're driving that says another friend of Bill? You've seen them, right? They're all over the place. Bill Wilson started Alcoholics Anonymous.
Oh yeah, right.
And yeah, he was a religious guy and all, and he started Alcoholics Anonymous, but he suffered greatly from depression. Greatly. Like he suffered bad from depression. And he had a doctor friend of his who came up with a treatment for depression. It was niacin, B3. And people go, what? B3? How the fuck? And here this doctor pointed out that pharmaceutical companies make sure that the daily allowance that is allotted for vitamins is not really, you can take more than that and it won't harm you, most of them. And so what this doctor did was he said, okay, everybody's different when they take niacin. You could take 2 milligrams and get the flush, right? The flush, your body goes flush for like 5 minutes and it, and you're like, whoa, that's fucked up. And then it goes away, but that is your limit, right? That now you know your limit. Well, if you go 3 times over your flush and you do it consistently like 5 days and you continue doing it after 5 days, your depression is gone. And he proved this by having a lot of patients. And then one day he said to Bill, look, you suffer from depression. Do you want to become one of my guys? And he went, yeah, sure. And he did it. And Bill was cured of depression. And the one story the doctor told was there was a woman, his most famous case was there was a woman who suffered from depression for years. And she had two young children and her husband. And she used to do nothing but sit in a chair and stare out the dining room window all day long. That's all she did. Wouldn't interact. She suffered so badly from depression. And so the husband was a friend of Bill Wilson and said, look, this doctor said, do this, and do all that. And so they took her to the doctor friend. And he said, yeah, here's what we'll do. We'll work with you. And so she gets on the protocol. She starts taking certain amounts for her of B3 and her depression goes away. She no longer sits looking out the window. She's playing with the kids. She's being an actual housewife and all that happy horse shit, right? And one day she goes for a physical to her regular doctor. And they asked her, how are you feeling with the depression? And she told him. She said, well, I'm taking, niacin on. And he goes, well, how much? And she told him. And he was like freaking out. Oh, my God, no, that's going to kill you. You can't take that much because a lot of doctors don't know that, yeah, you can, right? And so the doctor called her husband, because in those days, women couldn't make decisions for themselves, right? You couldn't even have a bank account or a car, right? So anyway, so calls the husband, and the husband's like, I don't know, you know, she's been pretty damn good all this time. No, it's going to harm her. That other doctor's a quack, right? So she stopped taking it, and within a month, she's back in the chair, staring out the window all day long. And that was the biggest story that this doctor told. Can't remember his name right now, but you can Google it. He was a doctor for Bill Wilson.
And the exception to the vitamins is vitamin A. You can overdose on vitamin A, and it's very harmful.
Oh, okay.
That's the exception.
Yeah.
Most of them have a range. Vitamin E, I don't know that we know the top range, but we don't know that it really does anything.
Oh, really? Does anything at all?
And there's been some question of prostate complications.
I watched him too.
So,
with what?
With vitamin E.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No shit.
Um,
Hey, what's up, Colonel Rangus? Haven't seen you before. Welcome. Yeah, I watched Dr. Berg too. Bobby, did you see the thing where all these other doctors are going after Berg? And it's because he's not a medical doctor. He was like a chiropractor. But he did so much research. He was like Tom Clancy, you know, he never served in government and he never served in the military, but he wrote hella good books. And because of the research he did, right? So here it turns out he's what the hell was it? The Dynamics people, the crazies out in California, the church of L. Ron Hubbard, his thing.
Oh, Scientology.
Scientology, yeah, he's a Scientologist, right?
Yeah, if you would have,
Berg is a Scientologist, believe it or not.
You should have said John Travolta. I would have known right away.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, and a lot of them too. So it turns out that they're all attacking him for that. And there was one time where his wife filed this complaint in the church against him. And the press went, no, they filed his own wife. Well, apparently in the Church of Scientology, that's a normal thing. But they took it out of perspective. But I've watched other videos of these doctors. There's a couple times where Berg made a mistake because he had read older research, didn't realize that like 6 months prior to the video that they changed some things. And so they try to rip him. But I've watched a lot of his videos and I've used his advice and it worked. Yeah, he's pretty good at it. But there's another doctor I like who's a medical doctor, and his name's Ken Burry. He's from North Carolina. You should watch him. He's the guy that actually I watched a lot for the carnivore diet. So I got on the carnivore diet and all my autoimmunes went away. And he said they would, and they did. And he's pretty good too. He's been around for a while on YouTube, but he's a general practitioner, like 23 years, family medicine and all. So he's like, you know, he's a real deal. He's like you, Jade. So he's a real deal. Yeah, Ken Burry is real good. Yeah, I've seen Stan Ekberg, but I watched Ken Burry and Dr. Berg. Yeah, but I like Burry better than Berg because, like, he's a medical doctor, so I trust him a little more. But how do you feel, Jade? I always wanted to ask you this. You are a medical doctor, and I always wanted to know, how do you personally feel now that after the Democrats completely fucking destroyed our healthcare industry, as far as no one trusts anything from the CDC, the FDA, doctors, hospitals, nothing, because of COVID, the lies they told repeatedly about COVID, about the vaccines, about the efficacy, all that bullshit. How do you feel about all that?
What you just said, I heard not quite verbatim from my husband.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. COVID, and then he had to have a bit of a nose job, and it went okay, but he doesn't recover from things speedily. You know, some people bounce back real quick. And he did fine, but he was down a lot harder and a lot longer. And he's having some trust issues. You know, how do I feel about it? I just do my best to give my best advice. And I don't mind if somebody checks with somebody else. And
Right. Second opinion, yeah.
if somebody challenges me and gets in my face, I don't have time for that. I just tell them, listen, I don't have time to argue. I'm just telling you the way it is. And you can either go along with it or not.
All right.
Because if you don't want to take the medication, well, that's great. You don't have to justify it to me. You only have to justify it to yourself.
My question was more political, though. There was good answers, though. But my question was more political in the sense of, does it piss you off the amount of lies that they told?
Totally. I mean, when I went through training, we were taught.
That's okay. What's up, bro?
We were taught to completely trust CDC and the WHO, and they were complete. They were not benign's not the word that I'm looking for, but they were
neutral. They were not.
They weren't
political.
More than neutral. That they were benevolent is maybe the better word. That they were really doing cutting edge, and they were trying to help everybody. And yeah, it's a little distressing that politics have come into it. Yeah. Stupid things like ivermectin. We got that put down because nobody was making money on the ivermectin.
Yep.
Yeah,
Merck.
These days, I wouldn't want to go to medical school these days. These days, you can't even teach genetics in medical school. If you start talking about XX and XY, you're going to have some blue-haired somebody jump up and scream at you, and then a quarter of the people in the class will leave.
Yep.
It's really pretty distressing, and so they're teaching these kids this in medical school now.
Well, an article came out today. I thought I had it in my list, and I must have missed it. But an article came out today saying, yeah, Trump was right again. That there was a study that was done that said hydroxychloroquine could have saved thousands of lives. I know ivermectin works because I used it when I caught Delta.
Richie,
I used it. Yeah.
Did you cover the judge in Georgia dropping 2 charges against Trump?
No. What happened? Tell us.
So,
Jimmy from Philly, everybody.
The judge that's the district judge that's covering the election interference case dropped 2 charges from Trump and his co-defendants because Fani Willis didn't have the authority to bring those charges. I think they were federal charges. They're trying to. I think that's what it was.
When I interviewed Mark Davis, he and I were talking about that. And that was a couple months ago. But what let me explain what it is. What's it called? Yeah, Bex is saying hi. What that was, Jim, was there's a board in Georgia that it's a legal board, and if you want to bring if a case comes up on politicians, they have to vote on it to say which county gets it. Okay. The problem is that no county wanted it. And if it went to the board is overwhelmingly Republican, and they would have given it to a Republican county, right? Fani Willis stepped in and just said, I will take that, and walked away. And it took months for them to come up to her and go, well, wait a minute, you didn't have the right to do that. And she went on TV playing the whole I'm a black woman, all that bullshit, right? But then she also got into saying, well, the problem is all these other DAs, these other DAs in these other counties, they're all on the take getting money from Trump. I mean, she lied her ass off saying, I'm the only one who will do this and bring justice to the American people. And she was full of shit. And she didn't have the right to do what she did. So we were waiting for the judge to drop it. There's so much going on in Georgia right now. Brad Raffensperger is about to have his ass handed.
So now they're saying there's 8. It's down to 8 charges.
Yeah. And he'll beat those too. He'll beat those too. Jimmy, Jade.
And there's also an appeal. They also have an appeal going as to whether she can even try the case.
She can't.
That's still going.
Well, she can't. And so here's the thing, ready? Because she wasn't. It wasn't assigned to her. You look. She says no one's above the law. Well, motherfucker, you're above the law if you think that you can break the law and just take a case when the law says that this board has to decide who gets it. So you're above the law, right? But Jade, what the hell was it I was talking? God damn it! It was something I was talking about with Mark, and you were here. Damn. Thanks, bro.
Georgia.
Yeah, I had it on the tip of my head. It was something important too. It was down there. What the hell was it? There was something that was going on. It was Raffensperger. Something was going on with him. He did another stupid thing.
Why don't they just play the tape for the fucking judge and say
that was it? Thank you. That was it. That was it, Jim. Thank you. Listen. The whole thing, Fannie Willis's whole case is premised on the fact that Brad Raffensperger edited the audio tape of the phone call and took out all the exculpatory information that Mark, my guest, was the one that did all that data analysis.
Shouldn't that be a crime?
Voter data and gave it to Trump. That's what Trump was reading out on the phone call. Mark's data.
Shouldn't that be a crime that Raffensperger did that?
It should be, but he's a politician, so it's not. It should be. Now, he should be able to be sued for that because he caused a lot of grief in that lie. And it was a lie. I mean, I think he could be sued for malfeasance, as a matter of fact, because think of all the money that Trump has had to put out for lawyers for something that he didn't do. He basically read down the day. Well, you got 33,000 people here that moved from one county to the other, never notified the state, and they voted anyway in their old county. Out of that, find me 11,790. Right. So they take it all away and they have find me 11,790, and they make it look like he tried to order Brad Raffensperger to do it.
Right.
Raffensperger's a piece of shit.
Rich, I had this kid outside the debate telling me that Trump wasn't allowed to talk to Raffensperger. I said, let me tell you something. Trump and you can call anybody in the world.
Yep.
Anyone.
Yeah, you can. You're allowed.
Oh, he can't call. Yes,
Why can't he? Just, you know what you do when people like that? Really show me that law. Where does it say that? And you know what? They shut right out. Well, I don't know the law. Well, then shut your fucking pie hole. Shut your pie. Sorry for the cursing, Jay. Shut your pie hole. You know?
Unless you've got a restraining order.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You can talk to anybody you want. Yeah, it's true. It's absolutely true. Let me see if I got anything else.
So, hey, Doc, I just had a
Uh-oh. Are you really going to go there?
cystoscopy.
We don't want to go there, Jimmy.
Yeah, don't go there.
We're not doing that.
Yeah, don't go there.
We're not doing that.
That was horrible.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, Jim.
Rich, shut your brother down right away. Shut him down. Come on.
Yeah. Let me see if we got another one. The powerful campaign ad from. Oh yeah, here you go. This is great too. You ready for this? It's another powerful campaign ad from Nicole Shanahan. Here are the top 5 moments from the debate. Ready? Watch.
Weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy
President
with a fake
Trump.
Russia investigation
We do have a lot to
that
get-
went nowhere. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things.
Hold it. I didn't start at the beginning. Sorry, guys. Sorry.
Kamala Harris.
She introduces herself.
That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell. But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him.
Yeah.
He had no idea
He
how
wanted
to
it to
stop
happen.
And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if where is our president? We
Yeah.
don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they
here,
threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know, is he our president? But we have a
Wake him
president
up.
Mr.
that
President,
doesn't know he's alive.
Trying to fact check him while he's talking.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head
Yeah, that's what-
because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat to democracy with a
President
fake
Trump.
Russia investigation
We do have a lot to
that
get-
went nowhere. I fired most of those people. Not
That's
so
why they were
graciously.
upset
They
with
did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person.
They haven't.
didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13
Or his Secret
people
Service detail.
who's
besides
were
Cheetos,
just
that
killed
other time.
viciously and violently killed. And I got to know the parents and the family. They didn't fire. They should have
They didn't
fired
show
all
up.
those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire them.
Yeah.
She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police.
Right.
In Minnesota, she went out. Wait a minute,
she
I'm
is.
talking now.
I love he
You don't
did that.
mind, please. Does
I
that
love
sound
he
familiar?
did that.
Yeah, that's great.
See the look on her
Well,
face?
She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She
Yes,
did
she
things
did.
that nobody would
You
ever
did.
think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison.
Now she started laughing at that guy, but everybody started throwing her policy from 2019 that said transgender operations for illegal aliens in prison.
This is a radical left
From her
liberal
campaign.
that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election,
Guys, they found like 15 different videos of her saying, yeah, we're going to come after your guns, mandatory buyback.
fracking in Pennsylvania will
And
end on day one.
Against it. Here we go.
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it?
Right.
She's been there.
Bingo.
That was the
They've
end.
had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it, and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in.
That's right.
You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that, and within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're
Right.
not ready for
So
it.
did Spain.
We can't sacrifice
They want
our country
clean.
for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
You got to love it, guys.
Well, you know who's the happiest? Well, I don't know if he's happy about much, but you know who's the happiest that Joe Biden got to be president? That's easy one. That's Jimmy Carter.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because he's no longer the worst president in modern history.
And ironically, Jimmy Carter is the reason why Jimmy Carter actually, as president, I call him that Democratic Party prank known as President Jimmy Carter. He actually ended illegal immigration as we know it. He did. When he was president, the UN came out with a thing called the Human Rights Agreement. And because it had a flowery sounding liberal name, human rights, yay! So Jimmy Carter signed on to it right away. It wasn't even fully filled in yet. And what the Human Rights Agreement did, among other things, was it defined, it gave us a new word to the vocabulary, national, right? It defined a person as a national, as someone who is living where they live. So if you're an illegal alien living in Germany, right? You're a national of Germany. If you're an illegal alien from South America living in Southern California, you are a national of California, of the United States, right? It goes on to say that no member nation can deny a national the right to health care, education, or welfare. California, the people there finally got their shit together. No offense, Bobbity. And they voted for Prop 187, if you remember. Prop 187 said, we don't want illegals getting free shit, because we're paying for the free shit. And it was within hours of them passing it in the vote, in the election, that a federal judge shot it down and said it's unconstitutional. People are like, what the hell? How can you say that? Because of that Democratic Party prank known as President Jimmy Carter. He ended illegal immigration. That's how Biden's getting away with a lot of this shit, too. Beady eyes. What paid actors? Bex, what are you talking about? Who's paid actors? Beady eyes. BeadyEyes.exe. Oh, my God. I have no idea what you're talking about, Bex. Are you talking to me or somebody else? I don't know.
She does this shit all the time. With the cryptic comments. Yeah, like.
Well, no, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't read what she said, so kind of my fault. But let's see if we have another one. Oh yeah, this is great. Ready? I'm going to tell you about it before I show the picture. A 38-pound cat named Crumbs gets stuck in a shoe rack while attempting to escape fat camp. I shit you not. There's the laughing. Here's a story that might get some of our Haitian migrants to move to Russia. 38-pound cat, a pound rescue cat, Crumbs gets stuck. Look at that. Look at that fucking cat, right? So it has, yes, poor old Crumbs was eating nothing but soup and cookies in his former residence at a Russian hospital, which caused him to gain an unthinkable amount of weight. When all was said and done, he weighed a whopping 38 pounds. Look at the size of that damn cat. Holy, for context, your average domestic cat weighs about 10 pounds. Okay? Wow. Monster cat weighing as much as a toddler was found living in a basement gorging on biscuits and soup. How does the cat gorge on soup? Did it figure out how to get the can open or something?
That brings to mind a rude comment.
What's that?
About a woman with a large...
oh, there you go. Yeah, okay.
P word?
Yeah.
Jim, Rich, shut her down.
I didn't say it, though. I didn't say it.
The flabby feline named Crumbs tipped the scales at nearly 38 pounds and was found to be too fat to even walk. Poor thing. Look at that. She was caught in a shoe rack, I think it was.
Toddlers weigh 38 pounds?
No, Jim. The cat. Yeah. Says, bro, this sounds like a scene from South Park. Crumbs really got stuck not only in the shoe rack, but with his face inside a blue crock. Look at that thing. They have him in water therapy. Oh, man. Crumbs is back in the fat camp program, and employees say his attempted escape is actually a good sign because he was actually able to move. I love this, so I'll leave it right here for you. Oh, man, look at that. Pathetic. He's terrified. Plus, cats don't like they don't like water, obviously, because it's water, right? They'll drink it, but they don't. Let me see. Do I have another one? Liam. Oh yeah, here's another one that's a heartstring. Let me go back in to. This is another video of a kid. Let's see, where is it? Okay, this kid has a rare brain disorder and hormonal disorder. And it says the media will never show him getting a letter from Donald Trump. Watch this. This is great. My Josh got one from him.
Can you read it out loud? Yeah. Sure.
It's going to cry. Because
It
you realize
says,
the brevity of it.
Dear Liam, happy 8th birthday. Mrs. Trump and I hope you enjoy this special occasion surrounded by the love of your family and friends. We are so encouraged by the strength and determination you have shown throughout your young life and send our love and best wishes to you as you continue to fight. Remember, you are never alone, and we are keeping you in our thoughts and prayers for continued health, for continued care and good health. May God bless you and your family. Stay strong. Sincerely. Can you tell me who signed that? He knew it was your birthday coming up. What do you say to him?
I
love you. What else do you say?
Oh, wow. Yeah, but Trump does that kind of shit. He'll never get credit for it, and he knows it, but he does do stuff like that. Yeah, Josh got a letter from Trump before he went in on the military. He had done all this volunteer work. And then, I mean, he went overboard. He did like he was with what are they called? The Seabees, or I forget what it is. It's an air patrol thing. Then he did a thing for Marines, and then he did a thing for Army. It was all this stuff that he had to do around his hometown. He lived with his mother, and he had to do all volunteer stuff.
Yeah, the CBs are the guys that blow shit up.
Yeah. He had to do all kinds of stuff, and there was an air patrol thing he had to do stuff for. Delivery in Ohio, yeah, but and so he got the letter, and I was like, dude, hang on to that. He goes, oh, I know. He goes, I will. I was like, cool. Let me see what else we got. 9/11 conspiracy theory. Here you go, Jim. You're gonna love this one. Ready? It's a 9/11 conspiracy, right? Told in I think 5 minutes. There you go. Watch this. This is great. Yeah, this is great. Everybody else watch.
And the evidence literally fell into the FBI's lap. That a hijacker, September 11th, 2001, 19 men armed with box cutters directed by a man on dialysis in a cave fortress halfway around the world using a satellite phone and a laptop directed the most sophisticated penetration of the most heavily defended airspace in the world, overpowering the passengers and the military combat trained pilots on 4 commercial aircraft before flying those planes wildly off course for over an hour without being molested by a single fighter interceptor.
Right.
These 19 hijackers, devout religious fundamentalists who like to drink alcohol, snort cocaine, and live with pink-haired strippers, managed to knock down 3 buildings with 2 planes in New York. While in Washington, a pilot who couldn't handle a single-engine Cessna was able to fly a 757 in an 8,000-foot descending 270-degree corkscrew turn to come exactly level with the ground, hitting the Pentagon in the budget analyst office where DoD staffers were working on the mystery of the $2.3 trillion that Defense Secretary Donald Rumsfeld had announced missing from the Pentagon's coffers in a press conference the day before, 10th, 2001. Luckily, the news anchors knew who did it within minutes. Osama bin Laden. The pundits knew within hours.
Osama bin Laden.
Right.
The administration knew within the day.
Terrorists who committed these acts and those who harbor them.
And the evidence literally fell into the FBI's lap.
That a hijacker's passport was found blocks from the World Trade Center crash site, if you can believe that.
But for some reason, a bunch of crazy conspiracy theorists demanded an investigation into the greatest attack on American soil in history. That investigation was delayed, underfunded, set up to fail, a conflict of interest, and a cover-up from start to finish. It was based on testimony extracted through torture, the records of which were destroyed. It failed to mention the existence of WTC-7, Able Danger, P-TECH, Sibel Edmonds, OBL and the CIA, and the drills of hijacked aircraft being flown into buildings that were being simulated at the precise same time that those events were actually happening. It was lied to by the Pentagon, the CIA, the Bush administration, and as for Bush and Cheney, well, no one knows what they told it because they testified in secret, off the record, not under oath, and behind closed doors. It didn't bother to look at who funded the attacks because that question is ultimately of little practical significance. Still, the 9/11 Commission did brilliantly answering all of the questions the public had, except most of the victims' family members' questions, and pinned blame on all the people responsible, although no one so much as lost their job, determining the attacks were
failure of imagination.
Because
nobody in our government, at least, and I don't think the prior government that could envision flying airplanes into buildings.
Except the Pentagon, FEMA, NORAD, and the NRO. The DIA destroyed 2.5 terabytes of data on Able Danger, but that's okay because it probably wasn't important. The SEC destroyed their records on the investigation into the insider trading before the attacks, but that's okay because destroying the records of the largest investigation in SEC history is just part of routine record keeping.
Yeah, absolutely.
NIST has classified the data that they used for their model of WTC7's collapse, but that's okay because knowing how they made their model of the collapse would jeopardize safety. The FBI has argued that all material related to their investigation of 9/11 should be kept secret from the public, but that's okay because the FBI probably has nothing to hide. This man never existed, nor is anything he had to say worthy of your attention, and if you say otherwise, you are a paranoid conspiracy theorist and deserve to be shunned by all of humanity. Likewise, him, and her. And her, and her, and him.
This guy's good.
Osama bin Laden lived in a cave fortress in the hills of Afghanistan, but somehow got away. Then he was hiding out in Tora Bora, but somehow got away. Then he lived in Abbottabad for years, taunting the most comprehensive intelligence dragnet employing the most sophisticated technology in the history of the world for a decade, releasing video after video with complete impunity and getting younger and younger as he did so, before finally being found in a daring SEAL team raid which wasn't recorded on video, in which he didn't resist or use his wife as a human shield, and in which these crack special forces operatives panicked and killed this unarmed man, supposedly the best source of intelligence about those dastardly terrorists on the entire planet. Then they dumped his body in the ocean before telling anyone about it.
Sure.
Then a couple dozen of that team's members died in a helicopter crash in Afghanistan. This is the story of 9/11, brought to you by the media which told you the hard truths about
his head could be seen to move violently forward.
And
they took the babies out of the incubators.
I remember that.
And
mobile production facilities.
And
the rescue of Jessica Lynch.
If you have any questions about this story, you are a batshit paranoid tinfoil dog-abusing baby hater and will be reviled by everyone. If you love your country and or freedom, happiness, rainbows, rock and roll, puppy dogs, apple pie, and your grandma, you will never ever express doubts about any part of this story to anyone. Ever. This has been a public service announcement by the Friends of the FBI, CIA, NSA, DIA, SEC, MSM, White House, NIST, and the 9/11 Commission. Because ignorance is strength.
That's been out for quite some time.
Yeah, well, I watched it today.
So the FBI investigated itself and found that it did nothing wrong?
It did nothing wrong. Isn't that great?
Well, they're the premier.
Jim, do you have a tab open? Because I'm hearing, you came in and I'm hearing echoes.
Is it me?
It's not you. No, it started when he came in. It happened yesterday on his stream.
And then I love the part about...
no, there's no other tab open.
Don't worry about the financing.
Oh,
That's
hold on
not important.
All right.
Yeah, I love that.
I just muted Jimmy. I just muted him for a second because I want to hear it. See, there's no echo. Now, Jim, I'm talking. See, there's an echo now.
I think you hear the fan.
No, Jimmy, I hear myself talking twice.
I don't know how that's possible.
Do you hear it, Jade?
I don't. I hear you
No
fine.
kidding. So I'm the only one who hears it. Wow.
Yeah.
I can't hear any echo.
Like, watch. I'm just muting you for a second, Jim. I'm talking now. No echo. Hold on.
On your end.
I'm talking now. Now there's an echo.
I don't think
That's
anybody.
your end.
I don't think anybody else
Jim,
hears
it's
it.
not my end if I mute you and the fucking echo goes away. Sorry. Hold on.
Rich, there's no...
Hold on. Stop talking. Stop talking. Nope. Echo's gone. I don't know what you did, but you fixed it. You did the same thing yesterday, Jim. Whatever you did yesterday, you fixed it. Because now it's gone.
There was no tab.
Well, there was something. You had to do something. You said yesterday that you had to look at some setting on somewhere.
Yeah,
Maybe
I had it up on YouTube. I had it up on YouTube, and I had it up on stream.
I don't hear myself twice now. Thank you. Who has your... Oh, it's those cute earmuffs. Yeah, it might be those cute earmuffs, Jim.
So as I was saying before, the great double speak event occurred.
Yeah,
don't worry about the financing. Don't worry where the financing came from. That's not important. Oh boy. Ever hear of the words "follow the money"?
Oh, always. Yeah.
Follow
You always
the money.
follow the money. Always.
Follow the money. You're going to find out a whole lot.
Yeah. I know. Well, that's Bongino for the he wrote 3 books on the Russia Gate, the Spygate shit, and on his 3rd one it was called Follow the Money. And he gives where all the money came from for the Russia bullshit.
So here's the question, though. If how do I put this? If certain individuals within certain powerful positions whose names have not been used in this context did have a hand in this, what would have been their purpose?
What if the Bush administration was in on it?
For instance.
And I'm not there quite yet, but I know they took advantage of everything to create a system that could be used. See, the Patriot Act was something that I read and I thought, okay, if we can trust government, then it's actually the way it was written was to be only against foreign terrorists. But then the Obama administration came in and turned all that shit around and pointed at Americans using the same Patriot Act things to go after Americans.
There was some kind of report, Richie, where the powers that be were afraid of countries getting away from the U.S. dollar. And the report basically said, we need something like a Pearl Harbor event to galvanize everybody, I guess, create sympathy for the U.S., and they came up with 911.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like you, Rich. I can't quite go there yet, and I'm yeah, I know they took advantage of it, and in my opinion, anybody who signed on to before I say this, I tried very, very hard to like the Bush administration. Okay,
I only liked him for his economic policies. Everything else, I thought he was a
I
piece of crap.
I tried very hard to like them. Okay, because the alternative was so horrible.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But they were not very good. And if you ask me, anybody who voted for and or signed on to the Patriot Act should be tried as traitors, because that was something else.
Yeah, it was really bad.
It
turned out to be bad only because now, if the true intentions had stayed the way they were originally written, in other words, if Obama didn't get into office and completely turn the Patriot Act against American citizens the way he did, we know that Bill Clinton had Echelon, right? Echelon it's actually in England, but Echelon is the database that records all phone calls and text messages. I believe they do emails too now, but they do that, and they've been doing that probably since before. But I know Clinton was involved in that, the spying on Americans, talking.
Yeah, and basically what you're saying, Rich, is if we could trust government, and that has not been true for many decades.
Oh, I know.
If we could trust government, that's a big if.
Oh yeah, the word trust in government.
I can't tell you when I think the last administration was that we could trust, that I think we could trust. I don't know that I could even answer that question.
Ike, did you just fall, Jimmy, or did your machine fall? Did you guys see that? That's going to make the blooper reel. Oh, he went away. That's going to make the blooper reel, guys.
Yeah, it wasn't his machine. You could still see the fan. You could still see the fan going.
I know. I was like, what happened?
I pushed the chair. The camera's on top of the chair.
I know, Jimmy. It looked like you went. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
Earthquake.
9/11.
Okay.
Help me.
It was a controlled demolition.
Somebody said Reagan. Yeah. I liked Reagan.
So did I.
But one word, Nicaragua.
Yeah. what's the problem that you have with Nicaragua? You're talking about the Sandinistas?
Yeah, the problem is, did we should really have been there?
That's a very good discussion. Thank you for bringing that up. It was the Sandinistas and the Contras, right? The Contras were the good guys. The Sandinistas were the communists. So it seems that Democrats in Congress, which, remember, from 1954 to 1994, they ruled Congress, okay? There was 1 year in the first year of Reagan that the Senate went Republican, but then they lost it after that, right? They rode his coattails and took the Senate, but that was it. So all those years, it was the Democrats. And the Democrats always wanted to get involved with communists as long as they were 10 or 100,000 miles away, okay? When they were right near our borders, close enough, right? They didn't give a shit for some reason because they'll never attack us, right? So the spread, you got to remember the days of Reagan, okay, the 80s, right? It was the spread of communism into the Western Hemisphere that was a big problem that the West didn't like. And so when you had the Sandinistas taking over Nicaragua, all right, and they feared that other countries down there would fall to the allure, the false allure. Jim, I didn't push you out. He must have done it. All right. To the false allure that comes with socialism, right? So I thought the brilliant part was they sold Israeli equipment and they got to keep the money. And they donated the money to the Contras, who were actually so that we didn't have to get into war, and they were actually fighting. Yeah, Grenada, the toughest war we've ever had, 24 whole hours. Did you ever see that commercial? This is a segue. Did you ever see the commercial that that Saturday Night Live did? It truly was fun. It's when they were funny, and they did this commercial, and it starts off with a young father and his little boy, and he's standing there staring into a recruitment center, and it had Grenada, and the kid looks up and he reads and he goes, "Dad, what's Grenada?" And the father looks off in the distance, and they do this whole commercial about Grenada because Grenada was like nothing. It was like they were like college students, right? It was, and he's like, they go, Grenada, 14 volumes, one for each hour of the grueling incident. It was like, oh my God, it was so funny. Anyway, I'm sorry. So what?
Here's
Reagan,
one. Maybe Kennedy. Maybe Kennedy is the last one I can think that I would actually trust to have the best interests of the country and the people at heart, and that's probably why they killed him.
Yeah, but he also said that what did he said something about the gold standard. He was going to put us back on the gold standard, and they whacked him like months later. But I think Eisenhower was pretty honest too.
I think Kennedy probably had the best interests of the people in the country at heart. I think he was honest, and
in that era, yeah, I think he was too. There was a lot of shady shit he did, but I think he was honest too. I think one of the worst.
I don't care about him banging hookers.
Oh no, I wasn't talking about that. Yeah, well, Marilyn Monroe, yeah, but let's call it the Peace Corps. I just have a problem with that, and the problem I have with that is because the Peace Corps, the idea was you send young skulls full of mush to go down to some foreign country that is a shithole, and you use your engineering skills or whatever to build a potable water, a well or a toilet or whatever the hell they did, right? And that you got money for school to do that, right? In the Peace Corps. The problem I see with that is it created a lot of liberals who went into countries that communists ran their third world countries, and they learned that you can't change that government to become like the United States, become a capitalist government, that the government cares, gives a shit about the will of the people and all that. You couldn't do that. So the way that they felt all this liberal guilt that they lived in the most successful country in the world, the United States. And so they then started running for office, and they get in there and they go, you know what, we can't can't build them up, but we can sure knock us down a few pegs, and that way we don't have as much liberal guilt. And that's what the whole movement of, liberalism because of the Peace Corps happened. And we spent decades with that shit, and he started that.
I'm not saying he was perfect. Besides that,
I did like him, though. I did like him.
He was a Democrat, although, back in the day, back in Kennedy's day, Democrats weren't like whacked out weirdos.
Agreed, Simon. Yeah, I know they weren't for the most part. But you know what? Also, all right, Kennedy was the kind of president where he would sit in a cabinet meeting, right? And he'd say, Mr. Secretary of Transportation, what is your budget for the year, sir? And the guy would say, back then, right, in the 60s, $12 million. And he go, well, are you sure with that number? Yes, sir, Mr. President. Okay, well, I had a little study done where we call, because you know that the Secretary of Transportation has a secretary who has a secretary who has a, and on and on and on down to the street level in Philadelphia, right? Or pick city here. And so he had his staff do an actual study where they went to every single secretary down and said, what's your budget? What's your budget? What's your budget? What's your budget? And they did it throughout the United States. And he said, and they came up with 10 million. Yet you're sitting here before me, the president of the United States, saying 12 million. Where do you get that other 2 million, sir? Well, yeah. And he embarrassed his cabinet members, and they got even with him. The first time was when Kennedy stood there, and it's in that commercial that went out that I played last week with the Kennedys and Trump and all that, right? And it was where he said, Mr. Khrushchev said that he would have those missiles out of Cuba 90 miles off my coast. And that's when Khrushchev, they went to Khrushchev, and what did he say? And he said, well, he said he would have them out of Turkey 75 miles from my coast. And Kennedy came back and said, well, I told them to get them out. He told his cabinet, the people involved in sec defense, whatever, to get them out. And they didn't, but they told him they did. And that was a fuck you to JFK, because he would embarrass them with the way that he did other things too, but he would do that because he was trying to teach some guys, you got to be honest with me here, because the buck stops with me. I'm the guy. If you say 12 million and other people find out it's 10, I look like the bad guy, and I look like I'm doing something with $2 million. I don't want to look like that, right? He was honest that way. And so they did that. And then the Bay of Pigs was another one that they lied to him about. So he had his problems, but overall,
he had his thing.
But overall, he did what he was like the second one to do it. The first one, Warren Harding, the idiot, he got elected, right? And then he died real soon. And then what's his name? Took over. His vice president took over. Oh, Jesus. President Calvin Coolidge. Okay. Calvin Coolidge just kept Harding's policies, economic policies in, and then made them even better. And what that was cut taxes, cut government spending, cut. In fact, Coolidge would have contests with his cabinet and say, look, you're going to get a summer in Atlantic City, or a week in Atlantic City for first prize, and second prize is 2 weeks in Atlantic City. But no, he would say you get a week in Atlantic City, right, if you cut the most spending in your department, right? And he would do that all the time. And guys would be like, they'd be like, oh my God, I can't wait. And they go, who's the president? During the cabinet, we were able to cut $2 million from the budget. Oh, good for you. And that's how it was. Well, Kennedy, right before he was assassinated, he gave a speech, and it went on. It was a brilliant speech where he said, if we cut the marginal rate in taxes, we feel that it will stimulate the economy to the point where government revenues will grow, more people will get jobs, better paying jobs, business. Because if you remember, when he was president, we were only out of the war for a decade and a half, right? When the war ended, the world changed. Just like after World War I, after World War II, the world changed. Now you have democracies that you didn't have before over in Europe. And those people wanted things. They wanted refrigerators. They wanted cars. You know, they wanted washing machines and dryers. They wanted that shit. And the United States was the only country in the entire world that was already set up to do that for the world, right? Because we had all those manufacturing plants that made all the stuff for the war effort. And so they were very easily converted over from making tanks to making cars, from making, shit for the military to making shit for people to consume. And so that's what Kennedy was talking about, that we can actually, because more and more people, the more people in the wave that had happened, the more people during Ike's period that were able to buy stuff, more other people went, whoa, I want that too, right? Other countries. And so he was trying to handle it. And so the argument was that during Eisenhower's phase, the liberals to this day love to make this argument. They say, well, Eisenhower had tax rates of 90%. And the government was just doing, the economy was freaking awesome. So you motherfuckers with the cutting tax. Well, there's a problem with that. You see, nobody paid 90%. There were so many loopholes. Nobody paid 90%, right? And the reason why the economy was doing so well is because I had just said we were the only country in the world that was able to do all that manufacturing for the world. I mean, Trenton has a thing. Trenton makes, the world takes. It's like the oldest sign, and half the lights are out of it, in Trenton, New Jersey. But it was true. They were a manufacturing town, and they were one that was called. And then you had, what was it, War Powers? I forget what it was called, but Roosevelt said, look, we're not getting in the war yet, but we want you to convert your plants, your manufacturing plants, for the war effort, because we're gonna supply England and France, mostly England, though. We're going to supply them to fight the Nazis. And you have until we get into the war to do this. Now, if you get in and you convert your stuff over now, for the rest of the time your corporation is around, you will not pay taxes on your manufacturing, right? But if you get in afterwards, we'll still use you to manufacture, but you'll pay taxes. So they all jumped in on it. It was a toy company that made out like a bandit.
Mattel.
Thank you. Yeah, Mattel, because they made the M16. And in fact, when they needed more M16s, right? They went to Mattel and said, you got to make the M16. I just think it's ironic that Mattel made the M16. They also made the G.I. Joe. And America's feminists said, you got to stop selling those G.I. Joes because they're going to get young boys to want to shoot people. The M16s, that's fine, but that G.I. Joe doll. So what happened was they said to Mattel, you got to step it up. And so they did. But then they came back again. The government said, look, we don't have enough. You got to step it up more. And they're like, we can't. They said, okay, then give the blueprints to some of our other participants. And they're like, we're not doing that. Like, whoa, wait a minute. You joined the war pattern. They had lawyers right on the spot that said, there's nothing in there that says we have to give away intellectual property. And that's intellectual property. And Roosevelt took him to court and he lost. So in the end, Roosevelt gave them a speech about, like, he went to their main plant and gave them a speech about, look, this is America. We're fighting for the world for freedom that will help us immeasurably. It will help you immeasurably. Give the fucking blueprints over. And they did. They did in the end. And that's how we were able to get enough M16s, to kill the Hun, the Hun's subordinates. But cool story. But anyway.
I think you're mixing your metaphors. M16s didn't kill Huns.
I know. But I meant, who were fighting at the time.
I know
who were fighting at the time.
You see, what a lot of people don't realize is up till the moment that we got into World War II, the average city had a fair number of horse-drawn carts, and the average person living in an apartment, it was like one room with the bathroom down the hall.
Yep. That you shared, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you
a lot of places didn't have running water either.
Well, in the bathroom you did.
In the bathroom you did, but not anywhere else. You had to go outside, and it was a pump you had to do in city.
Yeah. There were a lot of places you had to go out and pump it. A lot of the fighting in the European theater, there were artillery pieces drawn by horses, things like that.
Yep.
There were a lot of war horses involved. But that's interesting.
Yeah. But Yeah. So what have we learned?
What have we learned?
The G.I. Joe and the M16. Yeah. So anyway, Jimmy was talking about, we were talking about JFK. You were saying who was the last administration that was actually honest? Yeah.
I'm going back to JFK so far.
Yeah. We haven't had, I'll be honest with you. I think the Trump administration was pretty honest. Everybody says, "Oh, Donald Trump, he lied 400,000 times."
Well, he had so many.
Okay, I meant Trump.
Him.
I meant Trump. When I say administration, I'm thinking of the president.
I believe Trump has the best interests of
the
people,
country,
right, and the people at heart.
That was the stat.
His administration was anything but. And you do know who designed the M16? A man by the name of Eugene Stoner.
Yeah. And what was the other? What else did he do? He did something else too. I remember the story. Eugene Stoner. M16. He was a machinist, firearms designer who was the most associated with developing the AR-15. That was it. AR-15 and the M16. Yeah. He modified Colt's patent too. For the firearm Colt's patent firearm company for the United States military as the M16 rifle.
Yeah. Mattel was what I'm not going to say they were late to the party, but they were not.
Right.
They were not the main manufacturer.
Right.
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, they had their own blueprints.
They made a slightly different version, I guess.
Yeah. Now that's
I don't know. Colt was the main military.
Forgive me, I was looking at Wikipedia.
Colt held the main.
Here we go.
The main military contract.
Yeah. Here we go. Ready? Okay. Eugene Stoner, the forgotten history of the man who created America's rifles, the AR-15. Eugene Morrison Stoner, they all name Morrison. Stoner, the founder of the AR-15 and the M16, is a titan in the world of both military and civilian use firearms. If he had done, my son has an M4, right? Well, I have a picture of him carrying a bar. It's so cool. The bar is almost as tall as him, right? Well, I was talking to him and I was like, yeah, so the AR-15, they keep saying it's a military style weapon. He goes, well, Dad, if you're talking to NATO ammunition, he goes, I have an M1. It's the same thing. There's no difference. I was like, really? I didn't know that. And he goes, yeah. He goes, I carry an M1. Because I said, the statement I made to him, I said, yeah. So the libs say, it's a military style weapon. It's a military weapon. And I was saying, yeah, well, if you hand a soldier an AR-15, he'd be pretty insulted. And he said, well, yeah, probably because the M1 has extra things, but it's the same firepower. And I was like, you got to be kidding.
Now, wait a minute. Let's get this straight. It fires the same round, just like you can have different rifles fire a 308 or a 303 and a British
556 and all that.
556. The military designation is 556. The civilian is 223 Remington.
Right.
It happens to fire the same round. Okay.
Right.
Just like the new round that they're using, the 5.7 by 28. FN's got a rifle. Well, PSA has a pistol that shoots it. Keltec just brought out a rifle that shoots it. So don't give me no business about it being the same round. Yes, it's the same round. It is nothing.
Same firepower.
There is
he didn't say the same round.
Is the wrong word.
He didn't say the same round. He said the same firepower.
Yeah, and that's wrong. That is absolutely wrong.
No, I think he was right.
Firepower implies, amongst other things, how much lead you can put down range in a fully automatic weapon.
Well, when you're talking about the kill death, what is it? The kill death ratio or the kill ratio or what is it? The threshold of kill ratio. It was the same argument that was made when the National Order of Police came out with a study that said that 9mm have the same kill ratio as a 40. The 40 is much more powerful, but that the threshold that will kill someone from a 9mm, they're now saying is the same as a 40.
You need to define your terms then, because firepower is much more how much lead you can send down range. A fully automatic weapon is typically faster than you can run with your finger. If there is not
It's a waste.
Any army in the world that
Well, they don't have fully automatic anyway. So
who does?
My son said we have a 3-round burst and a single fire. I
Okay,
said, you don't
yeah,
have fully automatic? He said, no.
They switched it to 3-round burst because there was too
Guys
much.
wasting a lot of ammo.
Yeah, in Vietnam, somebody calculated it was something like 20,000 rounds per kill or something totally ridiculous.
Yeah.
But there is no army in the world that has ever used an AR-15 in battle.
Right.
And when you say it's an assault style weapon, that's,
no, I didn't say that. The Democrats say that.
The Democrats
military
say that.
style. It's a military style assault weapon, which is all horseshit.
And if somebody handed you something for dinner and they said, "Oh, this is chicken style patty,"
exactly.
What does that mean? That means it's not chicken.
Right. Exactly. Well, they use the term assault weapon because they used to use the term automatic weapon. And people finally, I think it was Rush Limbaugh, they finally said, guys, can we stop calling it automatic weapon? And he had to literally explain that that the single shot is you pull the trigger once and it fires one bullet. You pull the trigger on an auto and it fires multiple rounds. And he said they were banned like a long time ago in the 30s, I think it was. And you can still get them, but you got to get a special FFL and you got to pay $1,000, get through a test. I know. But
it was the Hughes Amendment in 1986 that banned them.
Yeah.
Back in 1934, the NFA made them restricted.
Right.
And you had to pay a $200 tax stamp, which was an awful lot of money.
That's what I meant by banned them, because the average Joe could not afford it back then.
Yeah, the Hughes Amendment in 1986, I believe it was, banned them. You could not make any new ones. The only automatic rifle that you can purchase today is one that's been around for a while, and they usually are priced in the $10,000 to $20,000 range.
I know someone that has one.
Yeah, and assault weapon is a term thrown around by the liberals. Assault rifle is actually
I drive an assault car.
Yeah, and
I use an assault knife to cut my steak.
Yeah, if you have something and you use it to assault somebody, it's an assault bat or an assault whatever. Now, assault rifle is actually a recognized term, but that, amongst other things, has to be full auto or it has to be select fire with either a full auto or burst setting.
Right, but now they're getting into the ridiculousness of saying things like Kamala said, and Tim Walz, perfect example. He came out and said, and we got to get off the street the same types of weapons that I used in combat. Well, first of all, he was never in combat. Number two, there's not, like you just said and what I said, they're not the same weapons that are in military combat. They're just not. And the
semi-automatic rifle.
Right. And you know what? When they say, why do you need to fire, like Biden, why do you need to fire more than 8 bullets? The proper answer to that is it's none of your effing business, Joe. The Second Amendment says you can't even have a freaking conversation on it. Do you know that? Second Amendment shall not be infringed. What does that mean? They think it doesn't. They think it's not even in there. What does that say? Shall not be. I never heard that. Right.
There's a great meme of the founding fathers sitting around a table, and it's the caption is "shall not be infringed." Okay, that's clear enough. Nobody will ever misunderstand that, will they?
Yeah. Shall not be infringed. Well, what's infringing? There's no other amendment that they completely tried to destroy and garble so much than the Second Amendment. And it's because the leftists have this dictatorial thing inside them where they say, I really want to rule everybody because I'm smarter than them, but I can't because I got all these guns.
Yeah, well, no, the whole thing is that they want to take everything from you, and if you're an armed populace, that's more difficult.
Right. I want to. You know what? I'm going to do a video on it where I'm not even in it. You're welcome. And I'm going to do I could do like a 5-minute video, which is a long time for this, where I could take all the framers and founders, different things, and put their quotes on the Second Amendment. There's a shit ton of them too.
Oh, somebody just said something about the militia. Let me toss something in there about that.
Sure.
Okay, so the Constitution was ratified in
1787.
1787. The Bill of Rights was ratified a couple of years later in 1791. The Militia Act was 1791 or 1792. I think there might have been two of them. The Militia Act at that point
She's from Canada, guys. Knows her shit.
The Militia Act said the militia consists of all men. I believe it was from, I can't remember the range, 18 to 60, who are capable of carrying arms.
Right.
And the Militia Act also specified that you had to be responsible for bringing your own musket, ball, and powder to a militia get together.
That's correct.
In other words, everybody was the militia, and everybody was not only allowed to, but had to keep these arms in place.
Right.
So don't let anybody ever give you this BS about militia.
Right.
Because the formal, what we know as militia today, wasn't until, now this one I'm forgetting the year.
Did you read Heller?
Did I what?
Did you read the Heller decision? Because Scalia, God rest his soul, he wrote the opinion for it. And he went into encyclopedias and dictionaries and rules of order back in that day. And he described the militia, what you just said. He described it that way. And the liberals to this day screw up what he said about there are limitations to the Second Amendment. And what he meant by that was when they said in the Second Amendment, the right to keep and bear arms, okay? He said the right to keep and bear. To bear arms means that you can carry the arms, all right? Can you carry a cannon? Sure. You got 5 people, you can carry a cannon. You can bear it, right? Can you carry a nuclear missile? No, you can't. So Americans can't buy a nuclear missile, right? So he made that distinction, right? And he talked about how it was the vernacular of the day that was used. They spoke in Vulgate when they wrote the Constitution, and which means the language of the street. They spoke in Vulgate when they wrote the Constitution, and they wrote the amendments, especially the Second Amendment. And it's very simple to understand. And any liberal that gives you an argument, they're a liar, because they're either the dumbest person on the planet to not understand what the Second Amendment means. It's very simple, right? So Scalia, if you ever want to, since you're a gun enthusiast, if you ever want to really read up on it, find his opinion. You can find it anywhere, but read his opinion on the Heller case. Heller was a police officer, a Metro officer in Washington, D.C. And he wanted to be able to get a permit to carry a piece at night when he was off duty. And the city said, no, what are you, nuts? We're not going to do that. And his argument was, wait a minute, you pay me to do my job with a firearm on my hip every single day. They're like, that's right. So you don't think I should have a firearm when I'm off duty? No. What are you, crazy? Like, he's the crazy one. So he sued and he won. It went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and the court said, no, DC, you're wrong.
And what's interesting is you could actually, I've never heard anybody make this argument, but you could potentially actually make the argument that it doesn't cover women because they specified men. But I don't think anybody.
But he covered that too.
Yeah.
When they said man, they meant humans.
Yeah, they meant more like
human. They meant
mankind.
humans.
But back in the day, women were considered goods and chattel. So
yes, in most areas, not all, but yes, you're right.
They
you're
probably did. Honestly, Rich, they probably did mean man.
No, because when the Declaration was written and when the Constitution was written, they didn't do it in mind to say that all these rights that come from God, well, God created women too. Therefore, they have the inalienable right as well.
But if you follow that creation, God created women from what God created woman from man and made woman subservient to man.
They didn't get into that vernacular.
No, I'm saying it's an argument you could use.
Well, they could use it, but I wouldn't. Anybody with a triple-digit IQ like you and me wouldn't.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I'm not going there, but.
Oh, dude, let's go here. Let's go here. Ready? He says Chambers machine gun 1700s. Did you ever hear what was it called? The pickle gun? Did you ever hear that? It was a machine gun during the Revolutionary War, and the Continental Congress at the time was interested in buying it for their soldiers, and it would have ended the war, like quickly, right? And there was another one that was an air gun.
Oh yeah, remember. You know who had those? Lewis and Clark.
Yeah, this was an air gun, and it was an automatic.
It was a repeating.
Weapon. And yeah, it was a repeating firearm, and they say that it would have ended the war, but the Congress said, "Oh, they're too expensive. We don't want to put that kind of money out." Can you imagine Congress ever saying that today? Right? And there was another story that went with that this British soldier was standing on a road. It wasn't really a road. It was like a trail, but you could ride a horse through it and walk, and someone walked next to you. That's how wide it was, but there are trees every. So it was a British soldier, and he was standing there, and he sees this man in regular clothing, and he's on a horse, and he's just, riding real slow, going by, and he looks at the man and tips his hat, and the man just didn't know who he was. It was George Washington. He didn't know it was George Washington. And the man was in the red coat. He was the only one there. I guess his other guys were taking a leak or something, right? And he stood there, and he told the story later on. And it may have ended the war in a bad way if the guy knew who he was and shot him. I'm sorry. The reason why he was riding that way is because he had just come from a meeting about the pickle gun, the purchase of it. So go ahead.
Let me finish my thought though,
sure,
because like I said, if you get into nitty gritty and try to manipulate things, the nature of the status of women at the time, they were disenfranchised. Women and children were considered goods and chattel. They went from their father's possession to their husband's possession.
Right.
So you could make an argument that men meant men. And where I'm going with this, so you could actually, and I think nobody's actually made that because I'm getting excited here. I'm coughing. Nobody's actually made that argument because in the modern world, oh, well, men can have guns, but women can't. Everybody would go, say what? And the fact that interests me about the whole thing is that a lot of the arguments that the government has brought up in these Second Amendment cases have been, well, look back then, blacks couldn't go armed, and we disarmed Catholics, and we disarmed Irish, and we disarmed the blacks, and we certainly disarmed the Indians. So of course we can disarm people today. So their best arguments were like the most racist things ever. That's the best they could come up with. But it's people like that would start to argue these weirdness. But that's where I was going with that.
Okay. I have nothing to add. Wait a minute. Let me go back. Where was it? Let me see if I could do the pickle gun.
You have anything else? My goodness. It's almost 3 hours that I've been keeping up with you here, Rich.
I know. 7 more minutes. Let's hang out for 7 more minutes, and then we call it a night.
Do you have another story?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, sometimes I get ranting and raving on a couple of different topics.
Hey, rant and rave away. That's why I have you here. I like your opinion on a lot of shit. Let's see. Another powerful campaign. No, 38 pound. We did that. No. Conspiracy theories explained. Prepare. Idiotic report. Oh yeah, here we go. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but prepare for an exodus from New York City after approval of idiotic reparations program. What that means is a lot of people are going to say, screw you, I'm leaving. You're not going to hit me with this stuff because my family never owned slaves. I never owned a slave, and nobody today ever was a slave. So that's where that's coming from. But in a move that has sparked whole woke support and lucid skepticism, New York City is set to become the largest city in the United States to implement a reparations program. Now, Gavin Newsom in California is already putting forward a reparations program. Do you know what the problem with that is, Jade?
I mean, what's not a problem with that? I mean, give me a
Do you know
break.
what the real problem with it is?
Yeah,
California was not a slave state.
Oh, yeah.
So why the hell are they doing reparations? Because he wants the black vote to come back to Democrats.
Yeah, of course.
That's why. And he thinks they're stupid enough to go, oh, it's going to give me money. I'm going to vote for him anymore. Not anymore. Remember, ethnic fragmentation. Sponsored by council members Crystal Hudson and Farrah Lewis. When I read that first, I thought Lewis Farrah clan. That's what I thought. A pair of bills aimed at establishing a Truth, Healing, and Reconciliation Commission. Truth, Healing, and Reconciliation. What? All right. Along with a reparations task force passed on Thursday and will take effect immediately. Today, the New York City Council voted to pass legislation establishing municipal efforts to acknowledge and address the legacy and impact of slavery and racial injustices in New York City. Okay. The New York City Council. This announcement raises, I know people from the South had slaves and moved to New York and used them, and rich people. So I guess, yeah, they could make the argument. It says, why now? What's the real agenda behind this sudden urgency? I remember during the Reagan administration when Jesse Jackson was out there, the lead vocalist, the lead grifter, if you will, the race hustler. And he was saying, you know, we want reparations. We want reparations. And Reagan finally said, okay, I'll tell you what. He gave a speech and he said, I'm going to take it seriously. And we're going to work out reparations for anybody who can prove that they're an ancestor of a slave. He goes, but then that's it. There's no more affirmative action. We get rid of all those federal programs. No more set aside contracts for businesses, for government contracts. None of that. It's all over because you've been repaired. And he got into reparations comes from the word to repair. Right. And Jesse Jackson came out immediately and said, no, we don't want to repair. No. Well, now today, the woke Democrats, they want reparations, but they still want all those programs to continue. So it's never ending for them. Never ending. After seemingly rushing through this legislation, Hudson and Lewis are touting it as a transformative step for the city. Hudson claims, I hope the legislation will identify racist, anti-black policies at the foundation of our city's institutions, and it will yield material solutions to address these foundational cracks. So let me say this, and this is going to sound a little radical and a little crazy, but I'm not saying that there were no racist laws in New York. Okay, there were racist laws all over the friggin' place, right? I'm saying that I doubt very much that foundational city institutions, foundational, okay, that they were designed by them saying, now, how do we keep black people out of this? How do we do that, right? I don't think any city was built like that in the North anyway. I mean, yeah, there were racist laws that were passed later on, but the foundations of America based that just goes too far for my liking.
Yeah,
it just does. I don't believe that.
You know, a lot of people blame the West for slavery. I'll tell you, they should thank the West for ending slavery.
Yeah,
the Brits were the first ones. They did it a little bit before us.
Yeah,
they outlawed slavery.
Yep.
And in the meantime, slavery had been going on for a long time, and it went on for an awful long time.
Days of Socrates and before
after that, and slavery is still going on today.
Oh yeah, well, slavery is the second oldest profession, with prostitution being the first.
And the interesting thing is, I'm not remembering the numbers off the top of my head, but there was slaves. There were like many more slaves that went eastwards out of Africa.
Yeah.
Than into the Middle East.
The Yayo and the Ashanti were the two main tribes that sold people. That they would capture people and slaughter them and steal their stuff. Then they realized, hey, we got these guys. They're known as Arabs, and they would buy these people.
Yeah.
They would give us more shit, and so we could just trade, and they did.
Yeah,
and
so
then the
they would-
European,
the tribes would raid each other, take their stuff, and then sell the bodies to the Arabs.
right, and right. So that's where it started. And a lot of people think that like the Europeans and the Americans, that they went to the coast of Africa and got off the ships and ran in with giant butterfly nets and grabbed people up. No. It wasn't until the invention of quinine that they couldn't even go into those countries because they would die.
Yeah, they bought them off.
Malaria. No, they would get all kinds of shit.
No, they bought them off the local chief,
Yes.
the local slave trader.
Right. And I mean, look, I don't want this stream to go the wrong way. We hate slavery. We think it's awful.
No
the
question.
worst of the
No
worst.
question.
And I wish they would end it today. The United States is the largest slave trade today as far as human trafficking and human slavery trafficking. It's the United States. And the
Well,
reason why is
certainly-
because the United States has more money than anybody else, and we want that to end as well.
Well, the
But-
Biden administration is the biggest sponsor of child sex trafficking
Because
ever.
of the open border.
And if you want to call that slavery, that's probably not a bad word for it. I would like to see that certainly stop. But the other interesting thing, there's so many slaves out of Africa went to the Middle East. Do you know why they do not have a large black population in the Middle East?
Probably because they worked them to death.
Well, that was only part of it. What they usually did was they castrated the males when they got them.
Well, there you go. That would be a
So-
reason I wouldn't go either.
Yeah. So
But
they did
I know
that.
that the Arabs, they worked slaves to death, and the Americans, they were more capitalist about it. They said, well, wait a minute. They cost money. In fact, sadly enough, they equated them to the cost of a horse. Okay, because a horse was a tool that they used to get shit done. A human slave was a tool they used to get shit done. Again, guys, watching this, horrible, horrible, hate it, always hate it. But truth is truth. And in America, they said, look, give them downtime, feed them. They fed them the shit of the food that they didn't want to eat. I know it all. And the fact of the matter is that they then said, well, they can breed. They introduced the concept
Breeding
of a
them.
family.
Yep.
Because in Africa it takes a village. That really was it, so I'm told. And so they had the concept of family because they thought, okay, so if they understand family the way we do, a lot less of them will try to run away, because you could get away yourself, but you can't get your whole family out, kids and wife and all that too. So you might not want to run away. But then it became a problem for them, because then after families were formed, 100 years go by, families are formed in the slave farms and all that. And then they would transfer a father to another.
Well, they would sell them.
Yeah, sell them. Yeah. And the family's like, what the F?
Now,
What?
My understanding is they would usually sell the family. I mean, the whole concept of being able to sell people and sell families is kind of like, and to the masters of the YouTubeverse, I do not, and Rich does not support in any way, shape, or form
Right.
the idea or the concept or anything related to
In fact, I'm
anything
uncomfortable talking
resembling
about this shit.
slavery. So, we're not saying
We're just history buffs, and we're going through it. I understand that the number one reason for black male slaves to run away from a plantation is because they wanted to get back to their family on the old plantation. They
Really?
wanted to see their family again, so they would run off that way.
Yeah, I mean, they may have separated. I know they sold families because you could sell what they called a breeding pair. And look, we know they're good because they've already got a kid.
Yeah.
So you could sell, and now you could produce
A horrible practice, man. And you know what?
Yeah. It was
Here's
disgusting.
another little tidbit, right? So when the Nazis were coming up with final solution talks, and they were trying to figure out, okay, so until that happens, how do we treat them? And at one point, they discussed the American Democratic Party's slavery model. They really did. Okay.
Well,
and
the other thing is,
they came out and said in the end,
advice
hold on. They came out in the end and said, we can't do that because that's too horrific. The frickin' Nazis wouldn't do the American slavery model because they said it was too horrific.
Do you remember the generation of American eugenics?
Yeah.
The
Margaret
Nazis came
Sanger
over,
and all that.
Nazis came over and studied it.
Yeah. It was Margaret Sanger was one of them.
Yeah.
Not a Nazi, but well, maybe she was. Who the hell
Maybe
knows?
she was, but the Nazis came and studied, and I'm forgetting the guy's name, but there was a couple of guys that were big into it, American eugenicists.
Yeah.
And if anybody remembers the name, put it in the chat. But yeah, that whole thing was a bit of a bizarre kind of a, yeah, the whole thing about owning somebody and selling them, that the whole thing is weird.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. All right. I think we're going to shut this down.
Are we just about there?
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got-
Well, we're
you got
over
me
3 hours.
3 hours today. How
Yeah,
did you do
I
that?
know you lasted.
I lasted.
And see, because you were here that long, we had a few very good intellectual discussions
Yeah, well,
because you brought them up,
some-
not me,
I
not my
sometimes-
dumbass.
I sometimes burst out into raging something. You can name it whatever you want, but I get some things that bother me. But okay, well, hope everybody's had a great time. I had a great time just losing it and running off at the mouth,
No, it's
ranting
fine.
and raving.
That's fine. I think we
And-
covered a lot of topics tonight.
Didn't we though?
A lot of topics we wouldn't normally talk about.
True.
Yeah.
True. All right.
All right. Thank you,
Any
Jade.
la-
Thank
any-
you, guys. Hey, guys, hit that like button if you can. It really helps. I
Yep,
appreciate
yep.
everybody being here. Love you all.
And
Hey,
if you
thanks,
haven't, yeah,
thanks.
anybody who hasn't hit the like button, please do. And night, everybody. Have a good weekend, and we'll talk to
gotta-
you during the week. Let's work out our problem during the week. I'll send you an email.
All right, cool. Yeah. No, I can do it. I know how to do it. I just got to get your I'll get your name out of the comments. I'll get your username out of that, and I just add it into a table. So, all right. See you, Dr. Jade. Thank you.
Have a good one.
You too. See you. Yeah, I got to figure out how to boot Jimmy because he's not here, and if I close this out, it'll keep the stream going.
Oh dear.
Yeah, it'll keep it going. So I can't figure out how to just kick him out.
Well,
We
I'll
should
let
just-
you figure that. I'll take myself out.
Yeah. All right. Take care, Doc.
And then I'll
Thank
just
you.
all you'll have to do is worry about him. Talk to you
Yeah,
later. Rich.
thank you. Good show. See you. Talk during the week. Yeah, I got to figure out how to get rid of Jimmy. Anybody know that? Yeah, I should. In fact, I will. I'll let you guys be in on it. He'll be cussing me out and shit. There we go. Yo, I'm about to end the stream and you're still in here. So if I get out, it'll still be alive. Can you come in and like punch yourself out?
Yeah, I'm outside smoking.
All right. Yeah, just do it when I'll wait. I'll wait. I won't leave. I'll keep everybody here until you're.
See, Richie, it doesn't matter if you end the stream.
No, it'll continue the stream if you're still in there. I've done it before. It'll keep. Yeah, it will. No, I don't know how. I'm clicking at the ellipse. Where? No, I don't see that. Where? I'm listen. Where it says add to stage, and there's the mic and the 3 lips dots. Yeah, no, it says edit name, edit mic settings. There's nothing else. Yeah. Yeah, sure. All right. See you. All right, guys. We're going to be alive for 5 more minutes. Yeah, stop punching yourself, Jimmy. Yeah, he's outside smoking. I can't believe he still smokes. I thought he quit a while ago. I guess not. Well, while we're waiting, let me see if I got anything else. Is there anything else? I don't know. Rare brain. Yeah, we did him. We did that. Putin authorizing long range. Here you go. There you go. Putin authorizing long-range missile strikes against Russia would be an act of war by NATO. Oh, well. Russia's president, Vladimir Putin, has flatly stated that any long-range missile strikes carried out by Ukraine against the territory of Russia will constitute an act of war against the Russian Federation by NATO. And he's right, because they don't have the wherewithal to do it. So it will be the United States and other Western powers helping them, which would be NATO. He warns that if Ukraine is empowered to strike Russia with long-range missiles supplied by NATO, the alliance would be at war with his country. I can't say he's wrong. He's absolutely right. Putin notes that Ukrainian drone attacks have already taken place within Russia, most recently in Moscow. However, when it comes to using high-precision, long-range, Western-made weapons, it's a completely different story. The Ukrainian army is not able to strike with modern, long-range precision systems. This is important, of Western manufacture. It cannot do this, he said. It can only do so using intelligence from satellites, which Ukraine does not have. This is data from European Union satellites or from the United States in general, from NATO. He's right. And you know what? Our Western fucked up leaders, they don't care. Putin believes only NATO servicemen can enter flight assignments for the missile systems, arguing the real question is whether NATO wants to be directly involved in the war in Ukraine or not. Putin's ominous words come after Biden-Harris Secretary of State, piece of shit, Antony Blinken, hinted that Ukraine may get the green light to use long-range missiles against Russia earlier this week. Can you believe this shit? Oy vey. Did you guys know that that Antony Blinken was the guy who actually wrote the letter and sent it around to 51 former intelligence heads or officers to sign it and say that the Russian laptop, Hunter's laptop from hell, that it was Russian disinformation, right? My question at the very first time, and the New York Post question, and nobody else's question in the media I said, wait a minute, how the fuck did they know that? They didn't look at what's on the laptop. They have no idea what's on the laptop. 51 people signed that? What are you talking about? How could they do that? It's Russian disinformation. Yeah, really? What's on it? Well, I don't know, but it's Russian disinformation. Right? It was Antony Blinken who wrote it, sent it out, and then urged a lot of them to sign it. And 51 of them did. He sent it to a lot more, and a lot of them said, no fucking way. I'm not signing that. But there you go. And then we found out that I think it was a really high number. It was like 73% of Democrats polled said if they knew that it was real and the corruption that's on that thing and it wasn't Russian disinformation, they would have never voted for Biden. Yeah, they're Democrats, so they lie. You don't know, but that would have been nice. What a world we live in, right? Am I right? Russian formation. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. I think my German Shepherd is tired. Where is he? There he is. He's sleeping on the couch. Right, Mags? He's sleeping? Yeah, he's sleeping there. He hangs out the whole night there until I go upstairs. Anybody else have a German Shepherd? They're up your ass the entire time you're in the house. Anywhere you go, they got to know. Where are you going? What are you doing? I'm in charge of security. I got to know, man. Got to know. That's just how they are. He's a great dog, though. He's probably the best dog I've ever had. I had a lot of dogs. I'm sorry. Am I boring you? What a wonderful world it could be. What a wonderful world it could be. Jesus, Jim, finish your goddamn cigarette. Let's see, what else is there? Let me see if I got something new this way. Kamala Harris, first solo interview with local Pennsylvania reporter turns into disaster. Oh, you gotta love that. Oh, let's read that. Is that Jimmy? Hey, Jim. Oh, he's here. You're there. You know what it might be, Jim? I can't boot you because you came in. Did you come in through the link or through?
Yeah, I came in through the link.
Oh, all right.
So, I can't remove myself either. So,
yeah, just leave the stream then. Yeah, just leave. I think that.
I hope this don't fuck you up.
No, don't do end stream. Just do leave the stream.
Yeah.
Yeah. Don't do what I did, which I know you're going to tell everybody again because you always do. Hey, there you go. He's gone. Let me read this anyway. Wait a minute. Russia got an identity problem. They don't know whether they're European. Yeah, it's true. Did you listen to when Tucker interviewed him and with the translations and all that? Did you listen to his story about Ukraine? Now, if he's right, and I have no reason to believe he's wrong, although it could be a case of, well, he's Russian and he has his history and then Ukraine has their history. But, I mean, he pointed out they were never really a country. You know, they weren't like, you know, a sovereign nation until not that long ago. Let me just read this last one. Where is it? There it is. Vice President Kamala Harris, during her second interview, 50-some days she's been the nominee, during her second interview on Friday, today, since joining the race, undermined her record in the Biden-Harris administration by stating the administration's policies are not fit for the 21st century. Harris faces a conundrum. She cannot campaign on policies to fix crime, inflation, and border security without undermining the Biden-Harris administration's policies, but she must tout the administration's policies to validate her record in candidacy. I'm telling you, man, these guys, they box themselves into a corner, don't they? Oh, my God. Like, for reals, you can't, like, she's saying, you know, oh, I want to do, it's a new way forward, and I want to make this country so great with what we have now. And they want to make you forget that they've been in charge for 4 years and that everything was Trump's fault. Speaking with Brian Tapp of Philadelphia's Action News 6 ABC, well, that's the problem, as the Harris campaign promised she would Thursday after she was slammed for failing to answer questions during Tuesday's debate, Harris suggested she has a fresh approach with new ideas for the current moment. Please. I wonder if there are one or two spots, policy areas, or approaches where you would say, I'm a different person than Joe Biden. No. She copied all the policies off of Joe's site and put them on hers. My approach is about new ideas. Really, see, this is what she does. I have created a plan for an opportunity society. Really? What the fuck is that, Kamala? And she doesn't explain. What is an opportunity society? She doesn't say it. It's like it's all talking points on her website. My approach is about new ideas, new policies that are directed at the current moment. And also, to be very honest with you, there's one. My focus is very much in what we need to do over the next 10, 20 years to catch up to the 21st century. I'm obviously not Joe Biden. No, but you did everything he wanted except go to the border. And, you know, I offer a new generation of leadership. No, you don't, she said, providing examples that the Biden-Harris administration failed to achieve. Wow. Elect me. We failed to achieve a bunch of shit, but I'm going to do it this time. I promise you. And so, for example, thinking about developing and creating an opportunity economy. There it is. An opportunity economy where it's about investing in see if this makes any sense, where it's about investing in areas that really need a lot of work, people that vote Democrat, and maybe focusing on, again, the aspirations and the dreams, again, where people vote Democrat, but also just recognizing that at this moment in time, some of the stuff we could take for granted years ago, we can't take for granted anymore. Yeah, because they're leaving you in droves. For example, another plan that I have that is a new approach is to expand the child tax credit to $6,000. Well, there you go. Holy crap. For young families for the first year of their child's life, because that is obviously a very critical stage of development of a child. And a lot of young parents need the help to buy a car seat or a crib or clothes for their kids. Why don't, before they get pregnant, they work it out and say, you know, we're going to need, you know, a car seat, a crib, and clothes for the kid. Let's save that money. I mean, can't they get that shit at the baby shower? You know, am I wrong? Guys, am I wrong? Taft also asked Harris how she would go about bringing down prices and making life more affordable for people. Holy shit. Yeah, well, he didn't do so good in the last 4 years. Harris responded with the same rehearsed answer she used in the debate. I grew up in middle-class Kent, she replied, again ignoring the question. Holy Christ. As Breitbart News reported, Harris's claim is mostly false. Harris grew up in an affluent Canadian upbringing, growing up in Westmount. Holy mackerel. When asked what she understands former President Donald Trump's appeal to be and how do you speak to his voters about it, she delivered a word salad and did not answer the question. Right, ready? I, based on experience, excuse me, I'm talking. Okay, all right. I, based on experience and a lived experience. What? No, in my heart, I know in my soul, I know that the vast majority of us as Americans have so much more in common. I feel my IQ points just dropping off than what separates us, she rambled. And I also believe that I am accurate in knowing that most Americans want a leader who brings us together as Americans. Yeah, not like you guys that throw fucking lawfare at your opponents, and not someone who professes to be a leader who is trying to have us point fingers at each other. You've been blaming the Trump administration for every failure you have. She did it Tuesday night. She literally went into a bullshit spin blaming Trump for their Afghanistan withdrawal. Let's bring everybody together, she said. Harris lastly said she wants to ban guns. She just said, I'm not taking guns. I feel very strongly that it is consistent with the Second Amendment and your right to own a gun to say that we need an assault weapons ban. They're literally tools for war. They're really not. We already had that talk with Jade. We're not taking anybody's guns away, she added in the same breath. She said she wants a mandatory government buyback program, which I don't understand, because how does the government buy back your weapon when they never sold it to you in the first place? So a mandatory buyback program that they never sold to you in the first place. What's up, Dawn? Good to see you. Three hours, 21 minutes. I think I'll keep going for a little bit. What do you think, guys? I'll keep going for a little bit. See if we can get some more stories in there. Liberty Dale. Let's see. Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruling. Oh, yeah. This is another massive victory, guys, in Pennsylvania. And, guys, I think my state, Pennsylvania, is going to be the one that tips the election. I do. And we have a governor, Josh Shapiro, who was the AG in 2020. He didn't accept or take a look at a single case of election fraud that was brought to him. He's a piece of shit, and now he's the governor. All right. So let's see. Am I going to bring this in? Where is it? There we go. Let me bring this up. Breaking. Ready? Here you go. Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruling is big mail-in ballot victory. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court and I hope other states do this, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court just issued a ruling that amounts to a big election victory when it comes to mail-in ballots. Essentially, the ruling is that an undated and misdated mail-in ballots cannot be counted in the November election. Now, someone told me this earlier, and I said, yeah, well, what makes you think they're going to follow the law in Pennsylvania, the Democrats? They didn't follow the law in Philadelphia, right? You think they're in 2020, you think they're going to do it now, right? So it says, here's more from NBC News. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court ruled Friday that mail-in ballots that are improperly dated won't be counted in November. Now, they went through that shit in 2020, and the first court said, yeah, you got to throw them out. They're not legal. But then an appellate court said, no, you got to let them. Why? Well, the person's intention was to vote. How the fuck do you know that? How do you know the person wasn't a forger? How do you know the person voting that didn't put a date on there or put an inaccurate date wasn't a dead person that some other liberal filled their shit in? Unreal. The decision reverses a lower court ruling from last month that found it was unconstitutional to reject mail ballots that had a missing or incorrect date. Why? If the law if Jesus Christ, if the law in Act 72 does say that, if the law says you have to have the correct date on it, or you can't, how does a judge have the right to change Article 1, Section 4 that gives the state legislature the power, the sole power to create election laws in their state? The bureaucratic requirements of ballots in Pennsylvania have long been the subject of litigation, with opponents of the date requirements arguing that they unnecessarily disenfranchise. When you hear that, you know you're talking to a lefty. Disenfranchise eligible voters. No, they disenfranchise themselves because they put the wrong friggin' date in there. No, the law's not disenfranchising anybody. The dumbass that put the wrong date in or didn't put a date in. You know how they do that? They'll fill out a ballot and then they'll just Xerox the shit out of it, right? Because there's no official. I mean, there's no friggin' watermarks on these things. There's no official numbers on it. Some of them do have numbers, but once you take the ballot out of the envelope, you don't know who the hell it belongs to, right? A group of voting rights advocates went to court in May seeking to block the provision which required election officials to reject ballots that were incorrectly dated, even if the ballot reached them by the statutory deadline of 8 p.m. on election day. In 2020, our Pennsylvania Supreme Court, ruled by Democrats, actually changed that law. They added 3 days to it. You know why? Because the Democrats figured out in the end and went, oh, shit, we have to know how many ballots we have to manufacture in order to make Joe Biden win. That was literally why they did it. And it was illegal, but there was no time. The Supreme Court couldn't hear the case right away, so they knew it. So that and Kathy Boockvar, our Democrat Secretary of State at the time, she changed election law. She's part of the executive branch, and they're part of the judicial branch. They're not part of the legislature. She changed election law to increase the deadline for people with provisional ballots to prove who the hell they were. The Republican National Committee and Pennsylvania Republican Party stepped into support of the date provision, arguing it was important to election integrity. It is. Their appeal of the Commonwealth Court's ruling from 2 weeks ago was successful on Friday. Now, we're probably going to get a federal appeals court that's going to go, no, throw it out. The law means nothing. Democrats must win. Pennsylvania has yet to start sending mail ballot to voters. Shouldn't it be ballots? Mail ballot to voters, as a handful of third-party challenges are still being litigated in the courts by Mark Elias, a noted Norati. Even a small number of mail ballots getting thrown out due to incorrect or missing dates could have significant ramifications. Pennsylvania, a state President Joe Biden won. He did not win Pennsylvania over former President Donald Trump by less than 82,000 votes in 20. Watch 2,000 Mules. He did not win. According to VoteBeat, a nonpartisan, they're all nonpartisan, outlet that focuses on election reporting, more than 4,400 mail ballots were rejected in Pennsylvania's most recent primary due to date issues. Well, then get your freaking date right. I mean, guys, am I wrong? So they're blaming the law for their ballot being rejected when the law says you have to do this and they're not doing this. Sounds to me like they're the ones that screwed it up. Right? Hello? You guys still there? Were they well dressed? Oh my God, I had a lovely JW couple at the door looking for my teenage daughter who was apparently contacted them online. I think she must have been trolling. Do tell. Hi, Linda. Were they well dressed? They always are here. Some people don't like them. Okay. But they don't bother me. All right. 3.5 hours. I'm gonna end it, guys. Thank you for being here. Love you all. Please watch my videos during the week. Thank you for coming on Fridays. I love that you guys spend time with me. You're awesome. Please hit that like button before you leave. It does help. You guys have a great weekend. Good night, Rangus, Colonel. See you, Linda. See you, Special K. Bobbity, if you're still here. Dawn. Who else is here? I think everybody else left. Chris. Yeah. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. I'm out. See you.